What are you expecting here for bans, Evac? What are you expecting?
Probably same as last time from Dispatched. I expect a mirror ban to come out, but it's always the responsibility of these bans to shake something up a bit. And Synq, as we spoke about, maybe knowing their opposition quite well. Of course, Dispatched will know what to expect with Synq, but I don't expect them to counter it as much necessarily. I think it's more Synq's responsibility to do that. And Synq are the blue team. Is that correct?
They are, yes.
Okay. So they can get started. They're bringing it out Maverick first.
No big surprise. These are the same two bans that we've seen on Oregon pretty much all through the league. People very rarely mix it up. Occasionally, we'll see Jackal instead of the Thatcher or Maverick, but this is the most common twosome that we see. Now, coming out for defense, I'd expect a Mirror or a Valkyrie. We've got the Mirror coming out first from Synq, which... It is Synq, right? No, sorry. Yeah, Synq banning Mirror. I've written these down the wrong way around. Silly me. Silly me. And we are going to get Kaid, which has been a very common ban here in the league. He's like the top third most banned defender in the league for this season. And that's quite a turn from last season. Last season, he was down at like number 6, number 7. But this season, people just not liking Kaid. But he's proving very strong for pretty much any site, especially on Oregon for basement and top floor with all the different things you can do with those electro claws, the way you can trick with them. So it's not a surprise to see him get taken out of play. As we go here to Oregon for map number 1. And Kids Dorms is going to be the first site, which is no big surprise. Most teams' favorite starting point.
It certainly is for Dispatched as well. They proved that enough in the semi-final. Obviously, of course, the Kite is virtually a necessity, not only because of the Thatcher, but with the Maverick on top of it. Dispatched didn't have much other choice, which does leave a Valkyrie in play. That's always a kind of question mark nowadays, given how common she becomes in these ban phases. But it's an option for Dispatched, which is good, especially for players like Jakoa, who love to play that sort of role. Keeping my eye on him in particular for this semi-final as well, after his antics in the previous match. But he is playing with smoke here with a very delay-focused setup from Dispatched. Projectile denial for the Jaeger and slowing down their opposition. And of course, Dispatched, very signature mute.
Yeah, Dispatched are always bringing the mute out. Often it's played by Foz until Prozza joined, and then Prozza has kind of picked up the duties of playing on mute. And he's done a good job of it, to be fair. We saw some good plays from him in the semi-final playing on that mute. And like you say, Jakoa, very often we've seen him play Valkyrie in this league, so it's interesting to see him go onto smoke. This is a slightly different lineup to what we would expect from Dispatched in a lot of the games that we've seen, but it's not a bad lineup by any stretch of the imagination. It's a perfectly acceptable lineup. Henry 2G bringing out Jaeger. We all know him as an Ash Jaeger main here. There was an old thing, Evac, where back in the days, Henry never used to put down his barbed wire, and he received so much grief for it. So much grief. Now he makes a point of always putting it down. And he's getting better at that, so fair play to Henry as we see grenades going in nice and early to try to take down that shield that's in the doorway. And it does eventually get taken down with fire flaming all around the trophy room, making sure that no one can be in there. But that's an important bit of utility already lost, and very easily lost.
Well, it wasn't defended in any way, not even any WAMI discs.
No.
As he is an available operator, but not opted for. Henry instead just opting for the Jaeger, which does mean they're stretching a little thin in terms of projectile denial. Looking at the amount of projectiles for Synq's lineup, whether it's stuns, frags, smokes as well, opted by the Jackal, there is a lot that they can use. But the Iana walking in by themselves, NerdSync, no support. Instantly shut down. Easy as you like. A very strange decision. A second one taken by the Waller, pushing through to Master and claiming one.
Didn't even know that he was there when he walked in, and all of a sudden another death as well, leaving us in a 4 versus 2 with Logic and Fight. Never mind. Leaving us with Logic as the last man standing. That's the quad kill for Waller, and he is starting this game off in good fashion as Logic manages to pick off one, taking out Jakoa. He's got a lot of utility left. He's got 3 stun grenades and a couple of X-Kairos pellets, but those aren't going to be too much use. It's going to be more about gunplay here as he tries to take down all of these players that are starting to push onto him. We've got Well, we did have 3 people in Swamp, but we are just left with Henry who's going to hold that position. And we do have Waller going for that ace through the armory window. A bit of damage done to Logic. He has been tickled and lost a little bit of health, but I don't think there's really much he's going to be able to do here as he does shut down that ace, though. Waller is not going to get that ace, and as quick as you like, we are now in a 1 versus 2, and Logic has managed to turn the tables around with 45 seconds to go, but Henry with gun in hand and bullets leaving gun, and it just all happens, and nice little angle there, and he gets the pick, and that's round number 1 going to Dispatched.
It is nice and patient, waiting for the exact right moment for the Hibana to either give up the angle, expect nobody would be there, whatever it was. He times it perfectly for when she's throwing that final stun grenade, as the first one is soaked up by the ADS. Synq, they could have stretched our position quite thin there, but they lost too many men early on. That double master kill from Waller, very, very impactful, and then he just kept picking others up from there. But the damage was already dealt within the early round, finding the ace in particular, alongside the projectiles that would have been so useful in the late round, and it was left to Logic. No chance in that situation, unless Dispatched are making a horrible mistake. But so far, I mean, in my eyes, from what I've seen of Dispatch, they are relatively mistake-free most of the time.
Wow, relatively mistake-free.
I mean, in the last few games, at the very least.
Oh, that's a good call. All right, so we're going to mix it up. We're actually going to go to kitchen and dining here, which possibly not expected by Synq. They're going to be expecting a laundry and supply room most likely, but we are getting the kitchen and dining. To be honest, I missed if Castle was 6 picked. If he wasn't, then they're going to know exactly where Dispatched have gone to. But with the Castle in play, it's kind of obvious they're going to be downstairs. The only question is that if it's going to be dining or meeting. Now, in PC world, I believe they generally prefer meeting over dining. Is that fair back, or am I misinterpreting what I've seen?
It depends on the region, depends on the teams.
Right.
It's quite varied. Nowadays, you generally see kitchen dining more than anything else. And from Dispatched in particular, they didn't play it once during the league season, and they only brought out this particular site during that last semi-final, winning it out quite successfully. So maybe they've been saving it for the big displays here. At least they're bringing it out nice and early, so they've listened to what we were saying, at least in the last game.
It is nice to see when teams bring out something a little bit different, a little bit of an adaptation, do something you don't expect, keeps us on our toes, keeps the other team on their toes. And with that, while we're all on our toes, we are actually 50 seconds into the action phase, and already we can see Kicks on his drone setting up outside double window, just ready to hold down the position. But we've already got Logic in dorms itself, making a push onto the top floor. Now, it is important to get the top floor cleared. You're going to have Prozor and Jakoa holding from above, though Prozor is going to drop. Jakoa playing on mute is going to drop as well, so no one up here playing their lives. And Synq have managed to force that defense back very, very quickly. Still a minute and 45 left to go, with Prozor holding firmly in attic onto the meeting hatch, because a lot of the time people come in through the back stairs, open up meeting, and try to come in through kitchen. But here it's not totally clear what we're going for just yet, as we are just getting a top floor cleared, though with Kicks having diffuser, it could be a jump in, drop through kitchen hatch, and a plant in there. As quick as that, though, we get 2 lives traded out, leaving us in a 4 versus 4 with 1 minute 15 left to go, and Visor very low on health.
Oh, but all the verticality's now lost, with Jakoa using his C4 to get that kill, and then the other C4 in the hands of Waller no longer usable as he drops. Nerdsick takes a lot of damage on the verticals, tries to shut down the mute, and succeeds as well, taking out utility piece by piece. The man count dwindling for Dispatch is going to stretch them thin. Henry's got players to deal with from multiple directions, with the verticality at Synq's hand and a lot of time sitting here with the diffuser as well. They are very, very comfortable and can play the time, use it well, and see this out nice and securely. One of the issues is this low health, though. Despite the boost being taken by Logic, Synq, Vision and Nerd, are going to be in trouble. They do pick up the 2 kills, though, very quickly. In a split second, they take the round, but it was pretty much all done earlier on. Some very straightforward, nice top-down clears from Synq, and that is a very good sign. They take their first round in this grand final.
Yeah, it was a slow and measured assault on the top floor. They did a good job of pushing 2 of the 3 defenders back very early, leaving Prozor on his own. trying to make it against pretty much every gun that was in the hands of Synq at the same time. And then we saw them win without Synq really even having to get into sight. I'm not sure even one of them dropped down into sight. We saw a kill coming from the hatch onto Proza, and then I'm pretty sure that last player that got the kill was also upstairs still. So yeah, they didn't even have to go. They didn't even have to go downstairs onto site to finish off the round. So a good take from Synq there.
Well, we're going to move either way. Dispatch not going to stick around on that particular site. No reattempt for now. Maybe they'll try it out later. They can certainly do it on the attack. We know that for sure. They're going down to the basement, which has been significantly changed around via the bans, because those 4 bans are operators you do expect to see down there in particular. But we do have the Valkyrie. It's not being opted for by Jakoa, but the Foz is bringing it along. And I'm very interested to see what Dispatch do with this, because they've been very, very delay and intel denial focused the majority of the time with their defensive setups. Having intel garnering themselves, they very rarely do that. So I really want to see what they use this Valkyrie for. Looks like with the first 2 cams, they're very, very deep set. So it's going to come down to those late round calls, and in the 1 versus X scenarios, if Synq do fight their way in, Dispatched might have that tiny little bit of a split-second edge by having the right calls at the right moment.
Yeah, so let's take a look at where these Valkyrie cameras are. That's what we all love to see and see what we can use in ranks. So we've got one at the bottom of freezer stairs and one at the top of freezer stairs and one at the back stairs, it seems. Oh, sorry, that's laundry stairs, not the top of freezer stairs. So we've got pretty much every entry point as far as staircases go covered, which makes perfect sense. We have the standard setup here on elbow with the 1 ADS signal jammer to stop the drones from coming through, but we have no one actually coming via blue. We are getting a kitchen freezer take here. So we are going to see Logic Synq playing on the Habana, coming in to get those hatches open as Proza's going to try to hold down the freezer staircase. And it looks like the plan of action here is clearly just open up the hatch, drop in, make their way through freezer and get that plant probably in laundry as opposed to a default plant over here in the supply room side. We can see quite clearly Synq's responsible for the top of freezer. We've got Vyzant, who's going to be checking his drones, and this is definitely the play that's coming. We see laundry hatch getting opened up now, so we are going to get a pinch, which is great to see, as Jakoa is going to take a load of damage. The C4 gets sent out, but it doesn't do enough, as Vyzant does get that pick on to Jakoa himself. With Proza being very low on health with that shotgun on freezer stairs, he's going to manage to pick off one, but he does fall to the grenade just after he does it, leaving us in the 4 versus 3.
Well, the smoke still has some potential here. The Valkyrie sneaking above will be the biggest issue for Synq, and misses the shots, most importantly, living to fight another day. Both of the players in that particular engagement, if you can even call it that, but now she's gone. Thankfully, Nerd moves around for Synq, manages to shut her down before she can re-enter the site, putting that much more pressure on the 2 within. Again, it's left in a 4 versus 2 with a good amount of time for Synq to do whatever they want to do. They managed it the previous round. Still, Smoke is going to delay as much as possible with Henry supporting gunfire. The open angles are going to trouble the defense a bit too much. That Goyo shield actually working against the defense. It split up the defenders. Now Henry's position is known as he shoots the player coming from behind. It's a smart move over by North, but it doesn't work. And his re-entry is going to be tricky. He finds the first and the second. Logic manages to stick the plant in the meantime. But this Jaeger's eyeing up the quad. He knows the player is over by this plant. Throwing stuns over on the stairwell. He's got a good amount of time here, Jaeger, to do whatever he wants to do, but the hatch is going to be a huge issue. He might have to sneak past it to try and surprise Logic, but he's not watching it very closely. But he is. He's smashing above. He's flashing all around this area, and he's going to drop in. The Jaeger's sticking. He hears it. He's got enough time to take this engagement. Nirvana's low, and she's down. It's a 1 versus 4 from Henry. What an incredible moment. And he takes the round from Dispatch.
Yeah, fair play to Henry there. What a round for him, getting that 4K to close it with the diffuser as well. A beautiful job from him, managing to bait out Logic on that hatch there. Typically with a position like that, where you've got someone on a hatch just above the diffuser, it's kind of all over, right? The guy on the hatch should win it 9 times out of 10. Unfortunately, Logic just planted that diffuser a little bit too close to the bomb chassis, allowing Henry to just sit behind the door frame, just out of sight of Logic, managing to bait Logic to have to drop down and engage in that gunfight. And a bearing 9 up close should have come off better, possibly against a Jaeger with a 416, but Henry was just better in that one. He was feeling the adrenaline clearly from getting the first 3 kills there and managed to win it. So, yeah, great round for Henry, doing a lot of work there for Dispatch to put the second one on the board for them. Fair play.
Well, that's one of the statistic advantages for Dispatch. They have double the 1vx ratio of Synq this season. They just have that extra ability to win rounds that you don't expect. And in a big final like this, that can be the difference between a loss and a victory. Only 1 or 2 rounds can really change it up, especially on a map like Oregon, which almost always comes down to somewhere very near overtime, at the very least, given the strong defensive nature. Dispatch need to take advantage of that, though. 2 rounds, not enough. They will feel motivated. That is one of the biggest strengths within that particular bit of play. Everybody being spurred on by Henry's incredible play. Synq, they've got to make sure that they don't let that affect them, because they've shown in previous games, as you mentioned in the pre-game, they can get knocked off. They can struggle to start the game, and if Dispatch keep rolling like that, they're not going to stop.
No, it's important not to let them get that momentum. I mean, as we talked about at the start, first map is not always Synq's strongest, so they'll be expecting to be down at this point. Although I don't think that you should always be saying, oh, we just don't expect to win map 1, so it doesn't really matter. You should obviously go into every map expecting to win it. I think the important thing for Synq to tell themselves is, we lost that round based on one guy. We got the rest of the team, no problem. We just struggled against one. We just need to keep our heads and, not throw bodies around silly, willy-nilly and lose them. And that should be good enough. But, yeah, let's see how they do recover from that, as Fozzer is going to use a C4 very early on. A big waste of utility there, as I guess he thought someone was in trying to open up that wall and using the C4 to stop it, but in fact there was no one there, so that's just a big waste of utility for Foz, which is most unfortunate. Hopefully he won't need that later in the round to try and deny a plant. Default cams not being taken out of play here. Second C4 spent by Waller, doing no damage, but the gun is going to get that pick, and Bev does fall with a headshot, so nicely done from Waller. Even if he doesn't get the kill with the C4, he got it with a gun, and he does put an early lead in favor here of Dispatched.
Well, the C4 opening the angle for him to actually use, so whether that was the intention or not, it definitely worked out for Dispatch. They had that early advantage again. Waller trying to replicate his form in the first round, taking down 4 of the players. His teammate is in that position now, going for a very similar ordeal. Manages to take down 1. Logic downed as well. They won't know that, though, and could possibly be revived. And you imagine that will happen over on Armory. If Kix isn't taken out in the meantime, he does have the Jackal to support. So you imagine it will be a 4 versus 3 moving forward. Not too bad for Synq, but already problems with this particular setup. They need to start using their hard breach to put some pressure on Dispatched and push them back, but they're falling themselves.
Yeah, Fozzer's just going to keep on taking people out as they keep applying pressure to that doorway using that shotty. Jaco's going to claim 1. That's downstairs with Ella on the flank with a mighty FO12, I believe it was. Logic claims life of 1. He knows that Ella is trying for that flank, but he needs to watch out for that hole in the floor as much as he needs to watch out for the staircase itself. And there you go with the FO12. Just point, click, and, something's bound to come off your way. And sure enough for Jaco, it does, as he gets that kill there in the last moment and puts it on the board for Dispatch. And Dispatch at the moment just looking very, very strong. Very strong indeed.
That's one thing I've forgotten to consider during these games, the power of shotguns on Xbox over PC. Just making those power positions even tougher. And you can already see within this game, Dispatched have been enjoying playing on corners and challenging their opposition nice and close up. They're opting for kitchen dining yet again with this big advantage. They're currently out killing their opposition quite comfortably, which was the one area of concern that I really had, because Dispatched are a strong gunning team. That's how they identify with themselves quite often, as a run and gun sort of team. Synq are the same thing, quite similarly, and actually generally have better stats throughout most of the season as well, which is always a concern. If you're not even the best at the main thing that you're doing as a lineup, you'll be very concerned. But we've jumped straight into this, and they seem very, very capable.
Yeah, Synq need to turn some things around. I talked with you before the stream about Bev, for example, where there'll be maps where he just doesn't do much, and then all of a sudden in the next map he'll turn up. And at the moment it's looking like map 1. It was the same in the semi-final. He didn't do very much in map number 1. In map number 2, he just turned around and he had like 11 kills in the first 4 or 5 rounds, I think it was. Just did great work in the second map. So I think it's just a bit of time needed here for Synq to warm up and get into this to fight, you know, gunpowder with gunpowder that Dispatched is bringing. But when you've got, I think Waller had the shotgun as well as, no, I think it was just Elo with the shotgun. I don't think Waller had a shotgun. You know, when you're playing up close against shotguns on doorways or not watching your flanks, then you are going to fall. And Synq typically are a team that are good with flanks. They're very good with drones and checking on them. We saw it in their semi-final where there were times when they should have died, but you just see them all of a sudden get a call from a flank drone and the play just stops. And then you see things swing around, and then they manage to pull off the move they need to pull off by, you know, just knowing where someone is and getting that kill. So, yeah, it's something that Synq are very good at, but they're sort of lacking it here at the moment in this map. They've got 8 drones left. They just need to make sure they're using them smartly. C4 is going to get cooked up here by Waller as the doorway from Trophy gets opened up by the Gon 6 of Synq.
I'm surprised they didn't send someone to maybe open the angle above, as they've been in this position ready to take that player Trophy quite a few times, especially in that previous defense of this particular round. Waller's under direct pressure, just running straight towards him. The sledge in that position, very surprising. Waller survives that original engagement and is ready for the next. He doesn't have a C4 available, and he doesn't have a head either. Great gunplay by Synq to shut him down from that position. There's very little direct support. Jukoa now just coming in and taking up that position. The flank from behind, though, despite the air jabs on Armory Stairs, somehow the Thunderbird winning that engagement. But she is shut down eventually before she can drop away. 3-3.
So I guess Waller did have that shotgun in the previous round, because that was the same thing that I heard. So yeah, that shotgun from, Fozza coming in absolutely brilliantly as Henry 2G. We've seen this before. Last man left standing in a 1 versus 3. I mean, we've seen him take a 1... Actually, it was a 1 versus 3 the last time, wasn't it? It wasn't a 1 versus 4. He's in quite a good position here on the hatch, waiting for someone to drop. And it looks like this is actually the most likely way that the attack is going to come. We've got one coming down the white staircase, which has been picked up by Henry 2G, but Weizen just sitting there watching footprints gets that ping, and as Henry decides to turn around and run away, well, not run away, run towards a target, Weizen's just there waiting to clean up and does put a very much needed round on the board for Synq as they go 2-3. They just need one more to balance things out and make this a 3-3 split at the end of the first half, which, to be fair, for Synq is going to be good.
I'll tell you what they do need is another defense of that site from Dispatched, because currently that's the only one they look convincing on. On the other sites, they have struggled quite a bit. Down the basement, they did get to that strong advantage from which Henry came back. But overall, their play was a bit lucky. They picked off players just as they were attracting. I would say, bar that air jab mishap, whatever it was.
No.
Synq have got a question mark in bringing that Nomad every time, because on a map like Oregon, you don't need her. And that hurts me to say as a huge Nomad fan. In general, they're obviously worried about an operator like Jukoa's bringing, like the Caveira, sneaking around, finding that sort of player. But that is a role that you can work within the team without necessarily bringing an operator for it. And use extra utility to help maybe with an execute or maybe with entries or something instead. And currently, they've not seen too much benefit from that. It's arguably a lot more useful on kitchen and dining site, but they've been winning that quite comfortably without too much effort. And Dispatched aren't generally a team previously who like to send men around. They sit in the site very deep, which is a surprise for Synq to be bringing this lineup. But it's doubled by a counter surprise in Jukoa's operator selection and current positioning.
Yeah, they clearly didn't want them want Synq to know that Jakoa was going to be bringing the Kavera. It was a 6-pick, and straight away as the round started, he didn't even do anything in terms of setup. He's just gone into silent step, I would assume, and come straight up here to T3 or Tier 3.
Well, you'd hope, because Vyzen could see his footsteps otherwise and immediately track him down.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that's why the Kavera was bought. They just didn't like the fact that they were getting tracked so much in a couple of the last few rounds. And they've said, you know, let's just bring Kavera. You know, our flank game has been working anyway, but let's bring Kavera just to make it better. Why not? It's what she's there for.
The Jackal selection in these previous rounds has been somewhat questionable as well for Synq. For the same reasons as the Nomad as well. Obviously, great gun, great utility, the smoke's helping out with executes. But losing the first man very beginning of the round is Flores as well. He could really help with moving, especially across from the north side of the map. At the very least, he has no opportunity to do anything. Now that man falling. Struck back. Thankfully, Proza is down for the Synq fans out there. Nerd does shut him down over on Freezer. And he's going to be pushing it in nice and close. But he'll soon to meet the Fozzer, waiting in behind for that refrag.
He's been very, very patient, just biding his time, and he's got more patience than Nursing, who is going to move on. Waller has taken some damage from someone, not quite sure who, but they do have Thunderbirds, so it's not a big problem. He's just going to be able to heal up. Now, they've got Laundry clearly very well covered with 2 magnets, at least, and an ADS, so they are ready for any of those stun grenades or any chuckables that came from the hatch last time, as we saw from Logic. His play was to sit up here, and they've decided this time, let's just put magnets all about the place and make sure that we don't have to worry about that. But Fozzer is going to manage to claim 1 as he gets traded by Logic. Waller's going to get a trade of his own, but we are still in a 2 versus 2 now, as Logic with the Bearing 9 is going to take Waller out of play. We do have Jakoa trying for those flanks, but he's going to get picked off by Jackal, of all people, leaving Henry yet again all on his own in a 1 versus X, playing down here in Kitchen. He's going to very smartly heal up, destroy that Kona station, because there's no more for him to gain from it. And he's going to sit, hold, and wait for these 2 players to come down Laundry. This is the only way they are going to come.
Well, thankfully, it's a bit easier in terms of odds for Henry, but it's going to be tricky either way. 2 players coming towards his position. Thankfully, though, for him, they're not going to have that much time to stick the plant. They do manage to find the kill, though, nice and early, swinging on by with a drone in support. A questionable one there, especially as they know Henry's in that position as well. Just sending 1 man in without refrag support, that could have been very, very dangerous for Synq. Thankfully, they get a little bit lucky. They rely on that gunfighting, and it works out. They take a 3-3 split. But I'm not convinced so far by any of Synq's play. They've looked good on one particular site, and I'd argue that's more dispatched, putting the wrong players in the wrong areas. So I think this is dispatched game to lose, this map.
They have looked very good so far. When it comes to putting kills on the board, they just have been looking very, very strong. We've got 2 strong fraggers on the side of Synq, with Vyzen and Nerd up there with 8 and 9. And I say that about Dispatch looking good for kills, but when you look at the numbers, actually, Waller's the only one really up there at 8, with the rest of them just down below on 2, 3, 4, and 5.
It's the way that the gunfights are taking place. The impact kills that are coming out from Dispatched, which are more convincing.
Yeah, and of course the kill spread is a lot more even for Dispatched as well. All of them are doing their work. Despite that 4K for Henry in a previous round, the rest of them are still managing to step up in other rounds and do what they need to do. The Synq have just been falling to some cheeky flanks and some shotguns up close. I don't know if they're going to turn it around on defense. They do have a lot of strategies for Oregon. They have a coach called Best of the Best, who, absolute genius from what I understand, has put together loads of strats for Synq, and it has made a big change to their game this season. But we haven't seen too much of what he's got on Oregon due to an unfortunate situation earlier in the season, which we won't talk about on stream, where Synq's strats became of no use to them. So they've had to rethink what they do for some of these maps because of that. But anyway, 20 seconds in, we still have 8 drones in the pockets of the attack. We've got Flores in play, which I always love to see. And it looks like we are going to get a classic take from T3 pushing down towards laundry and supply room, and that will be a blue and a backstairs take, I would say. Yeah, we've got 2 players over at blue, and the rest of them are going to be pushing down the backstairs. So a very standard take coming out here from Dispatched as they try to dislodge Synq from this not conventional hold of laundry and supply, but we don't have the elbow hold. They're just fully reinforced, and they're just going to hold back and let Dispatched come to them.
Yeah, it's slightly risky given that they should expect Dispatch to do this, because I expected it. That's what they did all of their previous game on Oregon in the semi-final. And they've just taken the ground that's been given to them. No need for a jackal or anything. They've got straight in to work, and they're using the hard and soft breach likewise to get all the angles they want open within a good amount of time. Obviously, there's a lot of players waiting deep within. The projectile denial will be a bit of an issue for Dispatched when they get closer on in. But there are potential weaknesses within the setup. Dispatched were playing Freezer with a lot of reliance upon shotgun players, whether it was the Thunderbird herself bringing the shotgun as well, holding that spot. And this time Dispatch don't quite have, Synq don't necessarily have the same lineup, but still the very same open setup. And currently no that tightly watching it. They could be punished with a split move from Dispatched. But they're still going very, very direct, and they've lost the Iana on top of it.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate loss there for Dispatch. They've lost a very good gun, but also frag grenades, which is very, very useful when you're trying to push into a site like this. Once you've cleared out any ADSs or magnets, you want some grenades to push these default players here out of position, just like the defenders are going to do to the attack with the C4s. Proza does manage to back away now, and it looks like they are going for a standard plant right by the bomb chassis. But as always here, you have to watch out for C4s from here and also the player in Freezer. And sure enough, the player in Freezer, which is Synq, is going to claim that first kill as Proza goes in for the plant. Diffuser has been dropped, picked up by Jakoa, but we still have plenty of players still alive here on site waiting to stop these last three attackers. With 20 seconds left, they don't really have much choice but to go for the default plant and rely on guns to take it down. Jakoa's going to pick off 2, 3. As we do get the diffuser drop, Jakoa's going to grab it back and he's going to reposition to try to the other default plant spot, but is he going to get away with it? Synq is going to be able to deny it if he looks around the right way at the right time. He is going to get Jakoa off the diffuser, but it's to his detriment as Jakoa's going to clean up the kill and actually win the round. If Kix had just held back a little bit longer and waited for time, that could have possibly gone Synq's way.
No, it did, didn't it?
Oh, was it Synq win?
Won.
Yeah,
they
sorry,
won on time.
I thought it was. Oh, it was time. I thought Kix died and that was it.
No, there was still another player alive. It was a 2 versus 2 with that plant, but Jakoa didn't have the support to get it down, so he had to go for the gunfights. Yeah. Finds the first as well. He got a quad kill for the round, but his supporting player was nowhere to be found because they were stretched so thin and so late. They couldn't reposition accordingly, and it was very unfortunate. The final flank coming around from the last Synq player as well, just showing that they had that extra control within the site. Very unfortunate round taken by Synq in the end. Again, Dispatched kind of throwing away a good opportunity, but definitely being a bit too orthodox, and Synq sat there so comfortably. They had their backs to an open wide setup with barely any eyes on it, and full security that they weren't going to be surprised.
Yeah. So we've just had a pause called, just checking in the server to see what's going on here. It's not a timeout. We do allow tactical timeouts, but it's not a tactical timeout. I think it's an admin concern. Okay, it looks like we are actually good to go again. So yeah, we are good to go. I'm going to unpause. All right, excellent. Let me just let them know. Unpaused, we are good to go. All right, excellent. So kids dorms is where we are going to go next. We saw laundry and supply first from Synq, which is the more unconventional first site to come out, but it worked very well for Synq, and they're now going to switch it up to dorms, which isn't going to be a surprise to Dispatched in any way at all. The lineup that we've got coming out from Synq looks fairly similar, or in fact pretty much exactly the same as what Dispatch were bringing to the table here, with the main difference being that Bison's going to be playing on the Mozzie instead of the Mute, which is what was being brought by Dispatch. Now, Ebac, do you prefer Mozzie or Mute? Which one would you bring?
Oh, well, that's horrible. I'd almost always technically argue for Mute, but I'm really enjoying Mozzie lately because I just love the commander. So I don't know what to tell you really. They both offer you similar, but it's like I think with the Valkyrie standard ban coming out nowadays, Mozzie has that little bit of extra favor for me, so I'm going to say Mozzie. But
Okay.
either way, Synq brought both of them last time. It wasn't even that necessary because the drone work was basic at best from their opposition, and I don't expect too much different here on this top floor site. I'm hoping we see something a bit more varied from Dispatched in terms of their execute, because they're forcing themselves in through these single doorway funnels when it comes to executes, and Synq, with their gun skill, despite the fact that maybe they didn't start as strongly, they can very comfortably hold these spots and take the fights early on.
Yeah, like you say, Dispatch do seem to have quite a paint by numbers attack for the two sites that we've seen so far. We saw a pretty standard attack coming out of Laundry and Supply, and here we've got the classic pinch from Attic, and also pinch from Closet as well. We do see a cheeky C4 go out through the Habana holes, but unfortunately for Kicks, no one was by to even receive that parcel. And it did get shot. As soon as it landed, it got shot, and a waste of utility from Synq, as he has actually dropped downstairs to the first floor, which is an interesting play. We can see someone... Are they outside? Yeah, Waller, just outside classroom. I would assume getting ready to play from below if anyone comes over to this wall. Quite often here, we see people playing up close, but with the way these holes have been opened up by Ace, you can't really play close here. So that's quite a good play from Ace to make sure that there's no one playing up right by the couch. Looks like we've got a push coming in from Attic, but that is actually Thunderbird downstairs falling at the hands of Jacoa. Don't know why Thunderbird would be on such a big roam game. That's Bev just dropping a little bit early as Nerdsync is going to get spotted on that. I see Jaeger, I think Henry. That's all it is. Jacoa is going to push in. He's done great work for his team. Let's see if he can make this push play. But no.
No such luck at the start, and Synq, they're losing men as well. 3 versus 3. Push comes in from Attic, but stemmed by Nerd. He stops that particular move from coming in, and an advantage suddenly becoming a disadvantage for the attack. Trying to push through various avenues. They've opened angles, but on their move through, they don't support each other very well. They're spread very, very thin, and lapped up very comfortably by the defense. Synq now very dominant, not just in the gameplay, but on the scoreboard as well.
Yeah, Nerdsync doing great guns, literally at 13 kills. He was a standout player for Synq in the semi-final as well, where he hit, I think it was something like 21 kills in the first map. He would have been MVP for the whole game if it wasn't the fact that he switched out on map number 3, I think it is, because he had ping issues, so he had to drop out. But he was doing absolutely brilliant work, and he's carrying that over to today. Obviously, Synq, as most people watching know, the team is actually named after Nerdsync, literally. So, and showing why. Fun fact for you, back in the day, they used to actually get called Synq Esports when they were called Athena. The people would call them Synq Esports, and they didn't really like it because, you know how it goes. We're more than just Nerdsync. We're not just Nerdsync. But I like the fact that Athena have embraced it and they've just lent into it and they're just going with it, and they're building up this nice little name for themselves as Synq Esports, and yeah, it's good to see them here with that. But let's see what they bring to kitchen and dining, as they are going to do a pretty common setup here. We're going to have the rotates into shower. We've got the standard single reinforcement on shower's wall, double reinforcement into small tower, standard holes at the top, and we do have castle in play with an upstairs hold coming out. So nothing too different being shown to us here. Ebac, do you think Dispatched will know what they need to do to counter this, considering it's the defense that they seem to use?
Yeah, they struggled on it on their own side, but they did do very well against Legacy on this particular site, and I was quite confident in the way that they executed it. Even though it was very direct, they did like to focus over on the west side, taking small tower and then winning their fights. I remember an incredible wallback as well, or 2 if I recall, on I think round one of their first attacking rounds. Either way, they're very quick to work as well within this one. The Fozzer finds Bev nice and early with the F2. So a good advantage taken, as well as Shower's control, only momentarily though, because the Bandit blunders his way in and bludgeons the Twitch.
I like the idea of Kix just blundering his way. To be fair with Kix, that is the kind of thing he would do. Blunder his way in, fair play to him. So you are quite right. We are getting a west side take here through the small tower. So you've read into this perfectly. This is exactly what the boys and girls from Dispatched are going for. They've already got the showers wall open. They've got damage done above the default wall of the site itself, and it looks like we are going to get a heavy push here into dining. No meeting room and kitchen behind box plays for Dispatched. No, it's going to be the stand up, balls out, straight in through to the couch and plant in dining room as Henry 2G does pick off kicks, making it a 4 versus 3. So Dispatch taking the lead right now. They've got Diffuser in hand, and they are setting up very nicely to get in and get this plant down. If they go behind the couch, there isn't really much to contest them other than Logic Synq through this cheeky hole in the wall. And this could work out very well for Synq, to be fair. Logic's a great gun, and as long as he can hold these players back, he should be all right. But Jakoa and Henry have managed to filter their way in and are just going to stop the defense from being able to push forward as Proza does go in and look like he's getting ready to take that plant. But Logic is going to do some taps and get some damage onto him, leaving us in a 2 versus 4, though, as Henry picks off fires, and plant is going down and it's likely to be successful.
Yep, the nade doesn't work out from the sledge. There's a trade, which is definitely not favorable for Synq. Thankfully, Nerd manages to get one himself from the vertical angle, but his position known. Henry and Proza will be fully aware the Wamai is upstairs. His position called, and the attackers will be backing off accordingly. One at the top of West Tower, one deep inside of the open bathroom setup. Nerd having absolutely no idea where they are. He's going to have to check every single nook and cranny, and he probably won't be afforded that luxury. The air jab giving his position away in particular. The Nomad will be waiting for this swing. She can hear it, but loses the fight. A triple from Nerd, and he's looking for this ace now as he wants to try and defuse. He's not going to have very much time to do so. Ace playing it very safe on these vertical angles. The time is far too low. Great effort from the Wamai, but in the end it doesn't work out again. Great attacking play here on this site. The defenders, whoever they are, can't seem to win it.
No, there was certainly a good effort there from NerdSync, like you say. Managed to clean up with some very clean kills indeed, but the time just against him. And in that position, like we talked about, or like I talked about back when Logic was on the hatch of laundry and supply room, when you've got a player above the diffuser like that, in that position with another one in showers, the chances of NerdSync clutching that 1v2 were very, very slim. Despite the low health those two attackers had, the chances of him managing to find that player up above in time, even if he'd had found him, the time limits were against him. It was just so low, and that was pretty much writing on the wall there for Dispatched having that plant down. So a great play from them. They lost a few players, or a couple of players that they possibly shouldn't have done quite so early, but they managed to recover it very well. Proza getting the plant down and just holding on to it until the end. So yeah, a great one for Dispatched. Unfortunate for Synq, despite the best efforts from Nerd, getting some very nice, very clean kills.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think from both defenses by the team, the operator selection is slightly wrong for the setup that they're doing. A lot of teams opt for alibis, maestros, and particularly with that shower setup extension as well. A couple of operators a little bit unnecessary in there. Not too many teams. The bandits are 50-50, especially with the Kaid ban, but there are maybe a couple of other things that they could focus on. Either way, it's not working out for those defenses. They opt for the bottom floor. No reattempt from Synq as they can't make that work out. Dispatched, thankfully, they've got themselves off to winning ways on the attack now, and they'll try and take that momentum forwards. As they've been hit pretty hard as of late. They've not quite looked the same Dispatched as the first couple of rounds in this game. They need to start firing again. And I'm concerned already because they're doing this classic 4-1 split that they like to do quite often, with a lot of pressure on Waller to dislodge anyone maybe over by Freezer, unless he's just... I'm not 100% sure what his plan's going to be, but let's keep your eye on the Ashe this round because she will make the difference.
Yeah. Well, I was assuming that they were clearing the top floor and were going to sort of pinch together and work their way down, but they haven't done that. They have cleared the top floor, and now Waller is just going to leave that in position and come over and join his team. So, I mean, it probably would have made more sense to just, start with your teammates over here on construction, spawn from there and, save the steps. But clearly Waller just wants the exercise. I understand. Lockdown has got us all feeling that weight, and as we come to Christmas, he just wants to make sure that he's not going to get too chunky by just standing around with his teammates on the drone. So fair enough to Waller. I appreciate the effort. Proza is going to claim a life, and that is Dispatch despite the 4-1 split, taking the early lead here. I say early, we're halfway into the round, but taking the lead here as they drop 2 players. Bev's going to take a load of damage and fall as well, leaving Logic and Bison all on their own in the 2 versus 5. Things looking very dicey as Logic is going to drop as well. I can't see this going any other way than Dispatch. Bison is all on his own. And you talked about wanting to see Dispatch just step it up a little bit and get that confidence to a degree back. And I think despite the 1-minute dawdle on some drones, we saw some huge confidence coming in there with a push that lasted maybe 30 to 45 seconds. And that was it.
As simple as you like, they just gunned their way through. They saw a player in a position and took them out. They didn't dilly-dally. They weren't focusing on utility as much. They just went directly in. And Synq didn't have a lineup specifically necessarily utility-wise to stop that immediately in its tracks before it got any worse. And even the C4 attempt at the end, which could take out maybe 2, even 3 players if you're lucky in that sort of position, netted absolutely none as well. And I'm not surprised because it was an absolute overturning from Dispatched and also equalizing the score back to 5-5.
Yeah, so whatever happens, we are going to see 2 more rounds. Obviously, we do have overtime, so we can get overtime here. We will either have overtime or a 7-5. At the moment, I don't know who to put my money on. Dispatch looks stronger for longer. But Synq have shown promise on defense. I mean, both teams, well, we had a 3-3 split at the end of the first half, so it's realistic to think we're likely to get that this time around. We've had 2 rounds on defense in a row, 1 by Synq, 2 rounds on attack in a row, 1 by Dispatch. So, you know, it could go anybody's way at this point. I don't know who to pick. It
will come down to the next basement defense, I think, from Synq. They are likely to win this top floor. I've not seen anything from Dispatch to indicate that they would. And they've had a very mixed attack at the bottom floor. The first attempt was confusing and a bit unfortunate with the timer running out on Jacoa. But it was odd, and then they suddenly steamroll their opposition by gunning it through. I don't think you can get away with that twice, necessarily. I think Synq will be smarter than that. So it's going to be a tricky second round of these 2, regardless for Dispatch. So if they want that overtime, or the win, at the very least, they've got to make sure they do as good a job they can on this top floor to start things off. Synq are going to bring a lineup that I'm enjoying, mostly because of that extra vigil that they've not had the likes of in these previous rounds.
I've got to say, I did enjoy that shock drone parkour from Fozza there as he took it up to the roof and then dropped. I've never seen anyone do that with a drone on this site where you go to the roof and then drop it down through the window. That was nice. A good way to get the shock drone in, because obviously when you try to put a shock drone in this way normally, it's just going to get taken out by a player in this sort of area or someone peeking from the attic doorway. So great initiative there from Dispatch to be able to do that with their drones and make it pay off and get rid of all of that utility pretty much that was here, stopping any kind of push that's going to come through once this wall gets opened up. And opened up it is going to be as Proza sticks his Selmas on and is going to be holding on to that diffuser for dear life, because he's going to get ready to go in for a default plant right here, probably by the foosball table, depending on which defenders are still alive. At the rate we're going, it's not going to be Bev because he's down to 5 HP, having taken a few hits, but he does have a load of teammates and a load of Kona stations around him, so he could be okay. But with Jacoa underneath, still with 2 grenades in hand and a lot of intel from drones, we could see a cheeky little frag grenade kill onto any one of these Dispatch players at any time. And here we go. We are getting a frag grenade cooked up, and it is going to take out Vizen. So beautifully done there from Synq.
Oh, and an explosive comes out from the defense as well, taking most of the health off of Wallop, but does not finish off the Ash inside of the trophy. So she can push on through, but low health for most of these players. The attic push now being somewhat successful, at least in the early stages for the Twitch. And as men drop everywhere for the defense, the attack are much more comfortable. They can stick this plant inside of games. The flank not quite working out for Kicks yet, and it's going to have to if they want to take this round. He manages to shut down the sledge with the Nomad's air jabs all set in position. It's going to be a tough re-entry. He has to come up white, finds the first at the top of it. 2 left, Waller and Henry. They've taken damage. They deal the most crucial one onto the Vigil and shut him down at the end of the round. No comeback for you.
I'm going to be honest, and Kix will understand. I wasn't expecting Kix to clutch that up. He's not that type of player to get a 1 versus 4 post plant. He did make a really good effort, though. It was looking good for him, and I think, to be fair, if Ash hadn't have been downstairs rotating behind him, he had a really good chance. So, yeah, fair play to Kix there for trying to hold on to it for his team, but he does, well, I say he allows Dispatch to go to match point. It's a team effort. We win as a team, we lose as a team. But that does allow Dispatch to get that 6 points, go on to match point, and they just need to win one more to take map number 1, which was, if we remember, Synq's map choice. This is the map that we should see Synq having the lead on and taking a victory on. But at the moment, Dispatch are looking very close to clutching any dream Synq might have of winning on their map. And that is going to make things difficult as we go into map 2 and hopefully map number 3. As you called, whoever wins map number 1 is probably going to win the whole thing.
I struggle to see Synq fighting back against the Dispatch that the Dispatch we're seeing now is better than the Dispatch against Legacy in the semi-final here on Oregon. They won 7-0 on Cafe after that. So if we're following in that stead, Synq are going to be in trouble. So there are definitely danger signs. And Dispatched in particular, that previous round was made and broken for the defense. At the very least, it was entirely dependent upon the intel play from Dispatched. Despite the fact there was a mute on the opposition, it's very clear why they were faking out that Mozzie and are again doing the mute here, because the intel saved them there. You see, whether it was the Ash flank towards the end of the round, they knew the Vigils moving in around at the bottom of the stairs. She drops from Kid's Storm. That was just communication. It was manual, but we know that we had that drone play from the Sledge earlier, taking that first kill and also pinging out the Vigil's position as he was roaming around on the bottom floor. Things will start off brilliantly for Dispatch, as again in the early round, they find the entry.
Yeah, Jakoa with that Finker LMG. I think it's the first time we've seen Finker coming into play in this matchup, and straight away Jakoa making great use of it as he just manages to gun down Logic, taking off a Rooney. Now, Logic is a big gunner for Synq, not so much in this game as we can see it is Nerd doing most of the fragging. Logic is typically a big roam frag operator for Synq, but to lose him early, even with the numbers he's putting up right now, is a bit of a problem for Synq, especially as he's likely to be bringing out some very good utilities to the table. Though, to be fair, he's put all the utilities down already, so you know, all we're losing is a Roni at this point. More grenades going out from Jakoa, trying to do damage from underneath, just like we saw in the previous round. And we've got the same old take coming out here from Dispatched as they filter their way into Master Bedroom and try to make their way in for the same plant that they went for before. We've got Fossa over here on the other side of the site. Another kill going in favor of Dispatched. And another one as well. And a 5 versus 2, it looks like the writing's on the wall here. And this could well be all she wrote for map number 1. But let's see if Bev... I was going to say Bev invites them, but let's see if Bev can clutch up. No, Proza just walks in, and it's a flawless round for the very last one here. That's not what Synq wanted as they lose their map 7-5.
Incredible play from Dispatch. They really grew into this particular map. And by the end, that's some of the smartest play I've seen in quite some time from any team. Brilliant intel work. And the gunning composure that they had, they got into those advantage positions, whether it's just one-man advantage or otherwise. They had the refrag support and then didn't even need it. Multiple flawless rounds.
Dispatched play here on Cafe, where you saw them play against Legacy in the semi-finals. And if I remember rightly, you were very happy with what you saw.
Yes, a 7-0 in a semi-final is quite rare on any particular map, and especially in the manner in which Dispatched dealt with their opposition. It was very, very comfortable. So I'm hoping Synq can offer something up and quickly with their player switch as well. Maybe that will help out. Zach coming in, his KD 1.29 is the exact same as the overall team KD all around. So he is pretty much the average Synq player, and hopefully that will help them rather than hinder, because Bev was putting in a pretty decent performance as well within that first map, and has done throughout the season as well. So well played, Bev. We'll see you next time, and we'll see if Zach can get more than one map, because currently it's not looking good for Synq. They are starting on the defense, which on Cafe is definitely quite nice for them. A relatively even map, but especially for teams like these two, I'm expecting a bit of a defensive favored advantage because of the manner in which you can slow down your opposition and bide your time, which both of these teams like to do.
Yeah. The bans are not a big surprise. They're the standard bans that we've seen throughout the season. In fact, I think when we look at the stats, I think these are actually the top 2 defensive and attacker bans that we have had overall this season. So no surprises to see these operators getting taken off the board, especially Valkyrie and Mira, as they are both just so popular on this map. So it just does make good sense to take them out of play. Now, like you said, we've got Zachariah taking over from Bev. This is what we saw happen in the semi-final against Alpenfestung. We saw Bev stay around for 2 maps, and then Zach joined for map number 3. This time we're bringing him in a little bit earlier, and hopefully that's going to make a bit of a difference for Synq, and they see their fortunes turn around. Anyone who will be watching the stream, or most people watching the stream, are likely to know that, of course, Logic and Zachariah are 2 players from Milkshake, top Face-It team who have won many Face-Its one after the other. Huge success when it comes to those sorts of games, and do double up as a duo very well. So hopefully they'll be able to bring their synergy together to get them through this map, so that Synq can really get warmed up to go to map number 3, which if we get there will be Theme Park, something that Evac and I haven't seen for quite a while. And in fact, most people won't have seen in competitive for quite a while because it's been out of the pool for a fair bit of time. But here we wanted to give some extra options to our teams and make it a 9-map pool rather than 7, just to add some diversity. And it's interesting to see that it's being picked. Saving the best till last. Yeah, let's hope.
The last map of the season.
Yes.
Very literally. Either way, Synq, they're relying again on this intel denial, as Dispatched had been using their drones so well towards the end of Oregon. I'm not surprised to see that coming out, even though both teams very much heavily favour that operator selection. In particular, Logic looking to rediscover that killing ability from previous games, previous seasons as well. Not quite up to scratch so far, especially with the way that Dispatched have stepped up within this game so far. Again, Jaco has brought along the Blackbeard, and seeing a good amount of Blackbeard lately as well, which is always an interesting one, especially with what looks... Oh no, it looked like the SR25 on my blurry screen for a second, but no, it is the MK.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't really see Blackbeard that often here in the league. This is probably the second time that I've seen him played. I'm not sure. I do have the stats hidden away, but I'm not gonna reach for them now. Stun grenade goes out, and surprisingly, there's actually no utility there to stop this. Even though we've got Jaeger in play, 2 stun grenades are gonna get fake burned. They would have been burned, but there's no ADSs to burn them, so those ADSs will go off. Push back. Jaeger playing behind that Goyo shield on Pixel, and that Pixel shield is going to get taken out by a grenade. So very standard take onto Pixel. And Cigar Lounge from Dispatched right now as they try to make some ground here in round number 1 of this second map. We have a standard setup here behind the bar with the Goyo shield. This has been very common the last season or two, where instead of reinforcing, you have a shield with a smoke playing behind it and holes in the wall, and also a player over here in washrooms. Now we are going to get Fozza pushing up close onto that, but that Banshee is going to make him think differently. His position will be given away if he makes that push, so he's not going to try it just yet. The first kill of the round is claimed by Henry2G, taking you off of the board. So not a huge loss as long as the signal jams are down. The main thing is that that's a C4 off of the table for Synq, which means some plant denial. But Kix is going to get that refrag. Jacoa drops. That's some important window utility taken off. And a 4 versus 4 with 45 seconds left to go, and Diffuser in the hands of Proza.
Tough position to call. Dispatch won't be too comfortable because it's not awful. They've got to start and move in now. Otherwise, they're going to be very pushed for time, especially with the Mozzie still underneath. Thankfully, laterally, it's working out for them. The Goyo has fallen. Bathroom control not quite yet taken. Nerd still strong in that position, but not for long. Down he goes. 4 versus 1. Now advantage for the attack. Logic stuck underneath. The C4 will work, buying him a little bit of security, but he can't quite get back up yet. There's a player directly above. He forces them back, takes a lot of health out of them. Away goes the Twitch, and the plant's going down. The Twitch finally dealt with entirely. Pings inside of the site now, the hard pings. They will be looking frantically for wherever that camera is, whether it's the default or a Mozzie drone. Either way, Dispatch sitting inside the site, protecting this plant inside, behind the bar, and they do it brilliantly. Very nice start to the game from Dispatched. Nice quick work on that execute. A good effort from the Mozzie, but all in vain.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Dispatch made a lot of ground up very, very quickly. It was starting to get a little bit hairy for them towards the end as the timer was getting low, and Logic was managing to pick people off with the C4s, getting upstairs and doing what he needed to do with his gun. But at the end of the day, they just managed to get that player into position safely behind, I think, one of the bars in Cocktail, looks like, where the plant went down. And yeah, there was no way Logic was going to be able to deny that. Plant successful, a whole extra 45 minutes on the clock for Dispatch, and they just managed to hold Logic back for long enough. So a great play from Dispatch, just rolling their way into sight and getting the job done. Synq floundering a little bit.
Yeah, I think both teams need to consider the fact that in a grand final, the chances of 1vx's are increased by 125% statistically. So those little moments can definitely work. Whenever Logic's coming up the stairs, you think he might get one more than the average, during a league season probably would. So some very nice play there. Either way, Dispatched taking the first round, and that's not what Synq need. They need to take as many defenses as they can quickly, just as a bit of a cushion, a buffer, before they move on to their attack. Obviously, still quite a while to go. They're going to head back upstairs yet again. I imagine not much will change for Dispatched. I'm hoping we see a bit more aggression from Synq. They let Dispatch waste their own time, but their execute has been so strong throughout, especially Oregon towards the end. The Dispatch can actually rely on waiting late, which I hate as a plan, but it's working for them. Either way, early round, trade.
Yeah, that's the Whammo taken out, and he's one operator you do not want to lose in the first 30 seconds of the round, because obviously he just gets stronger and stronger as the round goes on. He'll have managed to get maybe, I think probably only 2 discs down in that time, maybe 3 at a push. But yeah, you don't want to lose him at this point, but Zachariah is going to get the refrag, and for the first time here, we are seeing Synq take the lead as they have 4 versus 3. Still playing the very standard hold up here on Bar and Cocktail. I don't think they've really switched much around. They're just trying to do the same hold they did previously and see if they can do it a little bit better. Now, some will tell you that the definition of madness is to do the same thing repeatedly and expect a different result. But quite often here in Siege, it does actually work out that way for some strange reason. So let's see if they make it pay off, as drones are going in from Henry. He's going to find that we've got Malusi, it looked like, playing there in Cigar. Some bullets are going to rain down from the hatch through the wall, but they are nowhere near indeed. So 4 versus 3. Let's see what Zachariah will be able to do here, as he has managed to get at least 1 kill in this first game that he's joined for. So things looking good for Logic.
Oh, so close to taking out the Twitch with the MP5. Just 1 bullet too little. Fozza just hanging on with his life, and similar situation for the Sledge as well. Jacoa also incredibly low. Anything will take them out at this point. Probably even a Mozzie pest if he fires. But from underneath, down goes Vizen. A very nice bit of play, the nade from the Sledge from underneath. So Jacoa, he can't take those direct engagements very comfortably, but indirectly being very powerful. 3 versus 3 now. Hold a little bit closer. And you've got to make sure they're very, very quick to find those heads Dispatched, or they will be punished. Yeah,
I mean, if Synq can't win this, then Synq have got big problems. I mean, we've got Jacoa and Fozza that just, a kitten could lick their toes and they would die. We've got some beautiful yellow pings, but they're not going to be acted on there by, was it Fozza that was looking through the wall? He had a free kill. The yellow pings are there. He just needs to pre-fire. He doesn't want to give his position away because of his health. He does manage to tag Kicks, who does back out, but he is going to manage to down Fozza through the wall. That was such a tense moment there, but Zach is going to drop Jacoa up on the top floor, and I can't get to Henry 2G in time. But Zach coming in, doing a lot of work here in Cigar Lounge, does get some kills here in this round and manages to put 1 up there for Synq. So we even it out 1-1 at the end of the first 2 rounds, and it looks like we're going to have a nice close game here if things can keep on this way, Ebek.
It was quite close. Dispatched getting a bit weirdly caught out in the early round. That definitely helped. It was what I was saying just before, Synq need that extra little bit of something, whether it's over aggression, maybe some peaks early on. Obviously, it was a trade, but they dealt a bit of a blow to Dispatch, who didn't seem to recover from that point. Lots of players wandering around, not very connected, and then a late second floor move. Not second floor, second floor. That is correct. Second floor move. It's always confusing. Everybody calling the kitchen site the basement. Just getting in my head now.
I do it myself sometimes.
It is the first floor, and that's where we're going as well. As Synq are bringing a nice lineup, and it is again with that vigil that we saw coming out from Kicks a little bit, picking up a few kills himself on Oregon. Did get a little bit left out of the setup, which is always a danger, especially on Kitchen as well, if he's playing external. We'll have to see how they manage it.
So we see that new bulletproof can going up on the wall there, and we had a ping telling Rooney to open up some holes there so that can see through it. How do you feel about the cam changes for bulletproofs, Evac?
I've not seen too much of it. I've not used it because I don't play Siege very much myself. I just watch and commentate. So yeah, because I'm not very good. I'd rather be playing Xbox. You see, that's my issue.
Come back to Xbox. We're still here. We're here for you. We're here for you.
I probably will soon. But I do like the majority of the changes, to be fair, recently within Siege. Just small little additions or just switch ups here and there that help the balance of the game. And recently, Ubisoft have been doing a fantastic job. So
yeah.
All thumbs up from me.
Yeah, this is a good season. Yeah. So, all right, we are going to get a pretty standard bakery cake here coming out from Dispatch. I think from what I've noticed from Oregon onto this map is that the takes from Dispatch are pretty textbook most of the time. They rely on the gunpowder alongside those standard ranked strategies. We've got the holes being opened up in the top of the main wall, it looked like. For grenades to go through. No, where was he chucking that grenade? It looked like he threw a grenade, but there's nowhere to go.
I'm concerned about the verticals, though, because with Logic potentially above with angles, even later on he might be able to flank and come around and open them up. Dispatched, even if they've droned it out now, they probably won't know that there's a vigil on the very top floor. And they've lost men down below as well. Is that a C4?
That was a C4 double kill. We'd love to see it.
Enjoy that achievement.
Yeah, achievement unlocked for Vires, and he gets the 2 for 1. Lovely job as Jacoa's going to claim one himself. 4 versus 3, but Logic doing work as well. Like you say, Logic there on that flank has clearly caught Dispatched unaware. And now that he's got that kill, they are going to have to turn their attentions around a little bit and try to focus on what's coming from behind them as well as what's sitting in front of them. Closer does again drop down to very low health. Waller is watching that flank, not knowing exactly where Logic's going to come from. Watching red, watching bar, having no idea. Holes opened up above him, and Logic gives his position away as Logic takes a whole load of damage, and Waller's actually going to push right up into him, but he is going to think better of it and retreat, leaving Logic to fight another day, who is almost as low health as Fozzer right now. Fozzer picking off players on site as he starts to push his way in through preps. Got to make his way through the door, and Waller is going to follow him. It's a 3 versus 2, but it's a 3 versus 1 very quickly as Visor manages to get the kill. Waller equals it out though by getting that trade. Logic and Nerd, last 2 left standing on the side of the defenders. Synq going to be holding behind this chassis, and Nerd's going to get that pick, as we would expect. Very common position. It looked actually like, yeah, there was a gunshot his direction. They knew he was going to be there, but Nerd Sync's aim just truer, winning that round and putting one up there for Synq, and it's looking good for them right now. They're performing better so far. Actually, no, yeah, they are performing better than they did in map number 1 at this stage. So this could be a good for Synq.
It's a nice start. Early rounds can be quite telling, but we'll have to wait and see. I think Dispatch will be quite happy to keep themselves even on the attacking side, as their defensive play was very, very confident. I mean, they're a very good defensive side in general. Of course, being more attacker favored statistically throughout the season, I still feel like, having watched some of their recent games, they'd actually felt more confident on the defense, even if that's not statistically true. So I have to wait and see for that. But we're moving over to reading and dining, where we have an absolute mountain of C4s, which Synq might be using. They've It,
What are you pondering?
I'm trying to figure out what their plan is, because they've got different ideas of what they're set. I can't find the right words for it. It's as if that's my job.
So,
but I
well,
can't remember.
my assumption is that the 3C4 players are mainly just going to play underneath site and rely on intel to once dispatch get control, just try and rip them apart from underneath. That's my immediate assumption.
Oh no, it was just that they've got different operators that imply a couple of different plans.
Right.
But together, it makes quite a different setup. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be. We'll have to see as the round unfolds. Very spread out across the top floor and second as well. Ready to catch off any dispatched wanderers. You know, if Waller goes off on a wander on the other side of the map,
as he does,
trying to get his miles again, he might be punished for it. But thankfully, in the early round for Dispatch, they do shut down the Thunderbird. So Logic again not able to make an impact.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Logic, not being able to make too much of an impact on this. Zachariah's going to fall as well, so that's a huge loss for Synq, as Dispatched are just stepping up in this round and just pushing forward and killing people. We can see that Waller is actually just by sight. He doesn't have diffuser, but he's almost got sight control now. The problem here, of course, is loads of holes in the floor, or in the wall rather, so people in the library are able to see him. He's going to jump through that hole, but he doesn't see the mutes. But Mute's looking the wrong way. Now he sees him, and he does follow him. But Waller's made his way into sight, picking off people, but the shotgun's going to end that very, very quickly as 2 quick kills go in favor of Synq there. I have no idea what happened, but Synq playing on that mute up on the white stairs knows that one player has run down white. Diffuser is in the hands of Prozza, getting close to sight now, but Synq still just playing back here, dropping towards sight now, and he is going to be ready for the player on the white stairs. That's going to be Fozza wearing that funky hat, and down he drops, leaving Prozza all on his own in the 1v1. Both players at full health, but with the SMG-11 in hand, Synq is going to get that pick as Prozza gives away his position thanks to the bullets through the wall, and Synq with a cheeky teabag there just to signify how happy he is. Wins that round, making it a 3-1. So it looked bad there for Synq for a split second, but Synq managed to turn it around.
Yeah, they got a bit lucky there.
Yeah.
The mute's positioning being just a bit off in the first place, he recovered it, but it was very, very close. I'm not quite sure what Waller was doing there, running through that doorway with his gun not up after taking sight control. Very strange. Whatever it was mid-round from Dispatch that they tried to do, it worked in some ways and didn't in others. Not quite finding their footing here at the start of Cafe. Looking at a 2-round disadvantage. I think just the one, and they'll be relatively happy with themselves, taking that onto the defense. It's Synq's chance here, now that they've got the momentum, to make the most of it. And they return to the top floor where they've been rather confident through the early round, but Dispatched, if they can summon that first round form, that'd be great, but we haven't seen that team in a little while now.
Yeah, we've played Bar and Cocktail twice from Synq, and they've got a 50% win rate on it right now. So they lost it the first time, won it the second time. It's just become unlocked for them, and they are going to go back there as the other 2 sites that you would typically want to go to are still locked. So they don't really have much choice but to come back here, as not many people go to train and mining. I think we've seen it once in this... No, we haven't seen it at all in this season. We saw it once last season, but not at all this season, which is a shame, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Bar and Cocktail, though, looks like we're getting a slightly... No, this is actually the common setup. We just don't have the holes in the wall yet. Zachariah with the early kill as Malusi. Was that a bit of a cheeky peek? Yeah, that was through a hole that's been opened up in garage doorway. Got another one behind the truck, which Zachariah is going to engage, and he's going to just have to fall back to get to those Kona stations, as he has lost a hell of a lot of health. Has Logic, but he's not going to get back to a Kona station because he's dead now at the hands of Waller. And that's like, what, 3 times he's been opening pick in this map? That's not Logic.
The sledge down, but for his team, you know, he's almost always the first one.
Sorry, yes, I mean, yeah, for Synq, yeah.
And thankfully for Zachariah as well, there's enough time in the round where he can get all his health back very comfortably within the site. So not too much lost at the start of the round with a risky peek. But it has been what's working out for Synq. On their previous defense of this site, the difference was that they threw a spanner in the works by taking out the early play. I believe it was the sledge as well in that particular round. On top of that, with that peek from White, I'm surprised it caught off Dispatch for the second time in a row. But either way, they've got time to recover. It was an interesting round. They lost too many fights here on the second floor, which now they have full control of, as Synq are very deep within the site, very set within the top floor itself. So Dispatch have that in their hands. They have a good amount of time as well. It's time to go towards this execute. They left it late on the round that they won. I imagine we'll probably see that again. They need this early pick. I think both teams really want that 4-3 advantage here.
Yeah, Zachariah and the boys are holding back very firmly over here on Cocktail side, and they're going to try and keep Dispatch at bay over here in Cigar Shop from a distance just by throwing bullets at them. We have one player that's missing. I guess he's on the roof. Yes, he is. There he is. He's going to be running over to join his team now. That's Waller, as always, doing the lone gunman thing as he starts to make his way in. Proza makes sure that one player on Synq is going to fall, as Waller's going to use that utility to start taking down shields, but it is going to miss the mark. I assume there was an ADS or something that caught it rather than it just missing, but 3 versus 3 now, as Vyzen drops as well, putting us in the 3 versus 2 in favor of Dispatch. Vyzen down as Mute, now finished off by Jakoa with that F2. He is in control of sight, and he's going to get kick Synq, leaving Zachariah all on his own, who is going to manage to pick up one frag. Time is on his side with 13 seconds left to go. Random bullets are not going to hit him, and he is going to rotate round, predicting that the plant is about to go down, which it is in the hands of Proza as usual. One attacker giving himself away with the gunfire through the holes in the wall. Plant successful, and we're in a similar situation to what we had just a few short rounds ago, where Zachariah was left, I think it was Zach, left in the 1 versus 2 in this post-plant situation with the diffuser in the same spot. Can he make it pay off this time, or is he going to lose it again? It's looking positive for Dispatched, as Jakoa with the F2 is just proving completely unstoppable, holding this angle, waiting exactly in the right position for Zachariah to make his way through. Gets that kill and puts another one in the win column for Dispatch as they start to draw closer to getting a 3-3 split at the end of the first half.
So that was much more like it. They were allowed a bit more room to play there. They weren't as surprised by the peaks coming out from the Malusi as they were in previous rounds. They expected it, and they dealt with it quite comfortably, almost shutting her down at the beginning of the round, and then later on shutting her down in the end. Having executed very successfully, Dispatched always managed to pull through these last-minute moves. Even if they're disadvantaged in terms of men or time, whatever it is, they always find a way to overcome it, and that has helped them out to get this second round as well. If they can find the third on the attack, they will be in a great position to move forward and try and claim the second map and the season victory as well. Of course, that little green line on the top of your screen, if you don't know what that is, it means that they won the first map, and if they get 2, it's boo-boo time. It's bad news for Synq.
Definitely bad news, because even though it's a final, we are only doing a best of 3 for the season's final. So this is it. This is Synq's, well, I was going to say sink or swim, but it felt a little bit too, what's the word I'm looking for? Too contrived, too cheesy. This is the one where they need to show up here and at least get to the third map where they can just say, right, we've made it through 2. Now we can just focus. It's theme park. We've done theme park a lot of times. The thing is, of course, that because theme park isn't in the standard rotation, it means that teams probably haven't done a whole load of scrimming on it. And even if they have done a whole load of scrimming, there aren't going to be many VODs out there of these two. Well, there aren't going to be any VODs of these two teams that anyone can watch. So we're going to be watching a pretty interesting game if we go to theme park, where strategies are going to be unknown by either team. It's either going to be both teams have got some crazy stuff set up, or both teams are going to play ranked, and it's not going to be too much of a surprise, but we will see how that's going to play out as Jakoa starts to try to make his way in, taking down that barbed wire. Manages to get away with his life as Henry 2G takes a bit of damage outside that double door once prep wall starts to open up. Long angle going to be held there through the Maverick hole as the player peeking through it does fall back. Selma's going out, wall getting opened, Kona's healing people up. 4 versus 5, 2 minutes left to go. And with 2 minutes left to go, we're getting an execute already coming out here from Dispatched as Fozza gets a grenade kill onto Zachariah. And before I can even finish talking, it's another flawless round for Dispatched, as they are going to get that 3-3 split.
Not much to be said other than flawless. They did everything they wanted to do brilliantly. I'm surprised Synq let them in that easily inside of Bakery, given that's what Dispatched almost always do. And they've also done within this game quite comfortably. No extra adjustment from Synq. I mean, to be fair, even if they did go for a bit of extra verticality, like I suggested they might want to do last time, it wouldn't have helped them either way, because it would have been one player stuck by themselves. Dispatch didn't even get in. They shot everyone through the holes they'd made, or as they're moving around into the corridor. Just very, very confident gunfighting from Dispatched. And so far, the story of the game has been when they've started on the map, they've not stopped. And Synq found it very, very hard to deal with. And now Dispatched are on the defense, feeling very comfortable here on this side. I can remember from the semi-final where they got to a 5-1 advantage and all started running out on the poor ace.
Yes.
I can't remember who was playing the ace. I mean, they almost lost it, to be fair, but that sort of confidence they were brimming with, I'm hoping to see some sort of element of that from them, as they are still technically only 4 rounds away, if they're as quick and as comfortable as that previous one, from the entire championship.
Yeah, and Waller, much like on attack, doing the same on defense. That is Waller there, isn't it? Yes, it is. Waller doing much the same on attack, on defense rather, that he does on attack, and that's going off and doing his own thing on the other side of the map to the rest of his team. Though still clearly very coordinated, and he's just going to have a little pre-fire through the door before he gets ready to make his way off somewhere else. I don't expect him to stay around site. Okay, he's going to play here in coat check. Normally you'd put a Jaeger there, but you know, we're not going to do that. We're going to put Vigil there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, his utility, he can use... Okay, this is what I'm expecting. He's going to run off upstairs. Fair enough, fair enough. So, not... Oh, I thought there was no reinforcement on that because it's on the other side. Very confusing. Okay, so we have a fairly standard hold coming out here from Dispatched. They did have a rotate, which we've seen them do many times before, but they are going to seal that up and make sure that it's all reinforced off, along with a Kaid Electro Claw, stopping anyone from making their way in quite so easily. But Waller is going to claim that first life as Nursing gets the refrag. We've got standard reinforcement and holes at the bottom of this wall, but it looks like we aren't getting a push from that side this time. We are getting a push from
I'd say
above.
The Vigil doing his job there. I mean, it's a trade and he's not wasted that much time, but he's taken down Zach, who is currently gunning like mad, and is one of the strongest parts of Synq's play within this game. Without him, they've not quite looked the same, and they'll probably be looking to players like Nerd and Logic to find form and nice and quickly within the round. But good adjustment again mid-round from Dispatch. They noticed, okay, they're not going to push from here. Let's lock it up. Let's take the time. We're afforded that luxury. Let's make the most of it. Shut it down. Feel comfortable. I wouldn't be surprised if they barricaded it off as well. Just so they can sit there with their backs nice and comfortable, as Synq did on some of their Oregon defenses, especially down on the basement. So it's going to come down very, very close for Synq. They need an early pick, because if they're barreling on into a site that's nice and locked down with utility everywhere, C4s, still 2 of them for Dispatch, it's going to be rather hopeless. They need to find something early. Nerd's going to try and do that, but currently nothing netted.
Yeah, we are getting a heavy stack up here on Freezer, so the hatch is not yet opened, and I'm not sure there's actually utility left to open it. No, there isn't. We've got no hard breach secondaries. We've got nothing left in Pix's pocket, so that hatch is going to remain sealed, but the wall is open, and this is where we are going to see Logic start to push in. He's put his air jabs on the staircases to try and stop those flanks. Drone very well placed here on the top of that wall leading into bar. We've got 20 seconds left to go. Diffuser in the hands of Kicksync, who is making his way in. They're going to go for a default plant behind the bomb chassis, but he's going to push out and claim the life of Henry 2G, making it a 4 versus 2. Fozza very low on health. C4 goes off. That's going to deny the plant. Fozza 1 HP. Jacoa manages to get 1. Fozza drops. Diffuser is down. Nursing is all on his own in the 1 versus 1 with no diffuser in hand. And he's just going to sit the time out and allow Dispatch to take that round. Most unfortunate. how that all happened so quickly, I'm befuddled. That was an interesting one.
I'll tell you what happened. Synq went direct. They went through one area, and with the Kaid in that position, very comfortable, he can always deny the plan remotely with the C4. Yeah. Even with the mute dying beforehand to start off that sequence of events. And once they barreled their way in, Synq actually found a few kills. They made it quite interesting, but the C4 denies it. One more kill found by the Aruni means that there are 2 players left, and the sledge is still above. He is holding that position with a 4-3 advantage because they can afford to have him up there, picking off a player who might be rotating around and make themselves exposed. But as soon as they lose the advantage, the sledge is wasted. He's stuck up there with no opportunity to force any defenders to move. And that's the point where he needs to come down. He needs to change the plan. At that moment, he didn't straight away, and then was immediately punished for it because the other player drops and he has no time. So unfortunate for Synq, but it's similar to what Dispatch do, which is leave it late. But they didn't quite have that extra awareness that Dispatch seemed to have because they know how to win it out. Even in those awkward situations, they seem to have that extra level of clutch factor. I mean, they certainly statistically do, and they're showing it within this final. And again, they take the advantage. Now that they're on the defense here of Cafe, 4-3, only a few rounds away from complete victory.
This is an interesting setup that we're getting. I'm not surprised to see this castle barricade coming out with a Sarir gate on the other side. This is something that we've seen is very common. Castle barricading here and here is with the Sarir gates on them is going to force so much utility to be used just to even make entry into the cigar shop. You're going to have to use some utility or punch this. Either way, it's whether that utility is time or actual equipment. You've got to punch open or get open that castle barricade, then get this Sarir gate down. Then you've got to do the very same over here, and that's going to use up 2 Ash breaching charges from a distance to get that open. We have the wall opened up here by Dispatch, which is going to allow them to get peeks onto any players trying to make that play on the window. So this is an interesting setup coming out from Dispatched. C4 is going to go up to try to take out the player that's going to breach open the default hatch, but it isn't going to do the job. All players still on full health as we get a standard kind of take coming out here from Synq, but a very non-standard hold for them to fight against. Now, Synq, I've talked about this in previous games, Evac, throughout this season, where Synq are actually very slow on their executes. They do spend a lot of time setting up and executing very late on into the round, and we've seen similar from Dispatch, but Dispatch at the same time can move quickly when they need to, and that's something that Synq are going to need to turn around and just really break down those defenses of Dispatched, I think, because Zachariah's going to fall early. That's the entry already taken out. And this is a problem for Synq. This is a problem.
They're losing Zach too early in these engagements. Thankfully, again, they found Waller, so the same trade as the previous round at the beginning to start things off, but it's about a minute and a half later than it was previously, which is much more favorable for Dispatch. Waller wasting a lot more time, and still no easy way in. In fact, a way out for the Aruni. She jumps outside and manages to find her kill. Upstairs, things not going brilliantly either. The mute has found a kill. Down goes one more from Synq. They do strike back for one. Disadvantage, though, and they don't seem to have that extra awareness. The intel isn't quite there. Nerd has risked a lot to put himself in this position, but I don't think you want to be in there.
No.
It's a horrible place to be.
Yeah,
he's
sledge. Jammed in there like a whole load of sardines in a box. Instead of being a load of them, there's just him on his own. And it's a very lonely box right now as the diffuser is out on the red stairs. We've got Proza playing up close with the shotgun as mute, which is what he did very, very well when he was playing in the semi-final against Legacy. He held this position and it worked a lot. But it's not going to work this time, though, as Vizen's going to pick up the kill as Synq opened up that doorway, it looked like, with a frag grenade. So 1 versus 2, something we saw Henry being in quite a few times in Oregon. He's in this position again, but he's got 10 seconds. He just needs to take 2 down. He gets 1. Vizen has diffuser, but he's not going to be able to get the plant. He's going to have to play for the kill. He knows where Henry's likely to be, and he swings it and comes off better. And Henry just cannot clutch it up this time round. As Synq, just in the dying seconds of the round, managed to just get aggressive, as we talked about, and it paid off for them. And they need to do that more if they want to take this game.
Well, it's what they did so well at the start of Oregon, which is allow Dispatch to throw it away because they were in such a commanding position towards the end of the round. The sledge is stuck. He's the mute knows he's in there, and he allows the sledge not only to just open the door with a frag grenade and shoot him. He doesn't back out and go closer to someone like Henry in the bar, because there aren't enough open angles for the two attackers to split any attention. They could play that for time. They could play that, have two people on various angles and just outgun their opposition. There was very little Synq could do. But whatever it was that gave that slight advantage, I'm not sure if it was an extra player downstairs maybe peeking towards the Twitch. Whatever happened in that engagement, it was silly from Dispatch. They didn't need to do it. They threw a round away that they probably should have had. And now we're back to a 4-4. So all square yet again.
Yeah, it's like constantly the game is just being reset, and we're getting into it could go either way at this point because we're all evens. Let's see how this one's going to continue as Kicks. We have a pause for Kicks. That's their one rehost / pause used for this map. So if they do lose a player again, then they won't be able to pause. So hopefully they're going to be fine as we continue through this game. 4-4, as you said, Ebac. We are seeing Synq continue on the attack with Bar and Cocktail being pulled out of the bag yet again by Dispatched. It's their second time playing it. They did, to be fair to them, they did really well in that last round. It just came down to just losing those bodies at the end, and I think it makes perfect sense to give this another try. Just tighten up their hold a little bit more. Just make sure that they keep their heads a little bit, because if they can do that, and Synq don't adapt too much from the last round, then there shouldn't be a problem here for them. There just shouldn't be a problem.
Well, for once, Dispatched had a perfect first 2 minutes of the round, and it was just the last one.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, which is usually what they enjoy so much, that went entirely wrong. So, good signs. They still look a team in a very good position. They were very much on top of the previous round. So we'll have to see a switch up from Synq. They're not doing that in terms of utility or operators, bringing the same lineup. And the same from Dispatched as well. If Waller can survive after taking out Zach, the round will be in a much better position. We'll have to see if those two are again involved in the early engagement.
Yeah. Well, we have the same setup coming out from Dispatch, which is no surprise. It worked well. There's no need for them to adjust it. So we've got the same castles, same Sarir, people playing in pretty much the same positions, just with Mr. Waller just playing here in Cigar Lounge, which I don't think he was here previously. So he's going to mix that up a little bit just to try and stay alive a little bit longer. And this could be, a good move for him. It's standard for attackers to drop through this hatch. And as soon as they drop, Waller's going to be there, holding that angle, just waiting to get an easy kill. He knows that someone's coming over here on the window. He sees Sledge's hands as that castle barricade does get opened up. And, Waller's just going to sit here and wait very patiently. And he can take Sledge out of play. That's a big plus for Dispatch because, of course, Synq will be relying on that hammer to open up these castle barricades and these walls that have been left soft. That's what they're going to be relying on. Drones are going in. They've got the intel. They know exactly where Waller is, but he's still going to manage to take down NerdSync because he knows exactly what's coming as those drones spot him. 4 versus 5. Dispatch take the early lead yet again, but this time we are going to see Waller stay alive a little bit longer, and not just that, he's going to get a second kill as it's a 3 versus 5. Waller doing great work here right now for Dispatched.
He did it. He took down Zach and one more and survived. So great play. And one more. He's not quite done yet. No. Finally, he is shut down. He jumps out, finds the ace on Repel, is shut down eventually. He is down though, and could be revived here. Yeah,
he is.
It looks like he might be safe, but it does mean there's less attention elsewhere, and Logic is going to try and lap up the both of them as they return on in. They should be ready. They should expect someone to be here.
And they have. And
no, they're going to sneak through Kitchen. Brilliant. So clever to get away from that spot, using the impact inventively. Brilliant use of that utility there. I mean, fantastic Vigil play. And it's, again, a 4-2 advantage. They did throw it away from this point in the last round. So still a good chance here for the attack, but they don't have a sledge this time. They don't have any method to get rid of those castle barricades. So they're going to have to go direct right into these awkward funnels. And you can see the amount of prone players waiting in corners to lap up these 2 final kills.
Yeah, Waller's lining up for the 3. He sees the Mission Impossible style drop there through the hatch. And sure enough, he does manage to pick off Bison. As we're going to get another one coming up. We're going to get the ace. We get the ace. Well played. Koala for taking the ace. Achievement unlocked. That's, I think, our second ace of the season. So well played to Waller. He's going to be very happy with that. Blanco's not going to be happy because he's going to have to pay a lot of money to Waller for this performance that he's putting in today. That's for sure. But fair play to Waller. What a round for him. Wow. What a round. That puts Dispatch 5-4 up.
Midway through the round, I was close to saying that that's pretty much the perfect Vigil round. But it's good that I saved it until after that point because he managed to secure it with an ace. And that is very much the perfect Vigil round. He obviously helped out by his teammate Jakoa giving him the revive midway through. But fantastic gunplay, even with a bit of a weird SMG-12 shot at the end there. Very, very consistently done. And dispatched completely on top at the moment. They didn't have the same issues. They addressed every little weakness that they had in the previous round and stepped it up brilliantly. So now that they return to a site that they've already won, match point seems pretty close. They're only one round away from it. Synq.
That
time
was a
to get worrying.
Yeah, it made me laugh there when you said dispatched on top because, funny enough, hashtag dispatched on top is dispatched Twitter account motto.
That's exactly why.
I did wonder if you were on that on the ball. Excellent.
No, I'm definitely not.
Oh right, sorry. I thought you meant that's why you said it because you knew that.
No, I said it because they are.
They're on top. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
In maps and points in. Okay, in maps and points in this matchup, in this map, Cafe, which we did talk about at the start of the game, being a very good map for them. They are getting a good challenge from Synq with a 5-4. Oh, we're getting Synq rush. They're just coming in through the front and they're just going for it. They're just sending it. Kicks is in. He's got diffuser. He's going in for the plant already with his boys backing him up. I cannot see Synq losing this round. We should see them even it out as a 5-5 as Henry's down. Jako's the last man standing. C4 is going to get tossed out, which would have denied the plant, but Zachariah was there for the flawless round. What a play from Synq. Well, you asked for it, eBack, and you got it.
Xbox, there you are. I've been wondering if I'd see you at any point soon. It's been quite some time since I've seen a rush like that, but that's exactly why it's so effective. Catch your opponents off whilst they're on a high. They had that mental advantage. I was about to start talking about the fact that Dispatch will feel so confident with individual plays. Henry on the first map, 1v4, then an ace from Waller here on Cafe with that huge advantage. That is the perfect timing for a very, very quick and incisive rush as well, using that drone play to realize that there is no resistance nearby. Synq equalized the score nice and quickly, and we've got a reattempt. But this time from Dispatched, I'm not sure there's too much to directly criticize from them. Maybe just beware at the in the first few seconds.
Yeah, I mean, to see that one coming would have been a tough one. They just got caught off guard, and that's just the way it goes. Unfortunately, sometimes the rush is going to pay off. You don't generally do it more than once because the chances of it happening a second time are very, very slim. Dispatched are now going to be just a little bit more cautious about their holding on. They're going to be ready for it just in case. They're still probably going to turn their attention to where they were previously, which seems to be heavily onto the bakery and prep side, but they're just going to have that feeling in the back of their mind, like, let's just have someone watching that doorway, just in case. Just in case.
Well, they've also changed their operator selection as well, focusing a bit more on delay and a little bit more towards the execute as well, with the Banshees in position and the Bandit as well to slow down any potential move from Synq, as you imagine, with their breach-centric focus, their focus particularly on Freezer in that previous attacking round, the one before the one we just seen. I think that's quite a direct change to counter that. The Twitch will try and counter the Bandit's utility early on. I'm not sure she's going to be able to find her way in. Currently missing the drones on the enemy set.
Just wherever he looks, there's just drones going everywhere. Like, which one do I shoot first? I don't know.
You can't really blame it. It's tricky. Henry's been flashed. A C4 comes out from Jakoa. From where was that?
I'm not sure where it was. I think it was through, it was through the hole in the wall behind the counter. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Dispatch are a team that do leave a lot of holes in primary walls. I've noticed that over this last season. And I guess that's just, you know, an indication of just how much they do like to rely on their guns, their abilities to shoot stuff. They don't worry too much about reinforcing everything and trying to keep people out. They're kind of like, yeah, let's leave a hole here. Come on in. Come on in. We're waiting for you. And that's just how they play it.
They've shut down all the hard breach of Synq, though, and they've locked off the wall yet again with security and Nerd on low health, as well as probably the main gunner remaining. At this point, at least one of the bigger impact players who can turn around a weakened situation, which they are certainly in here. Dispatched on the precipice of match point. Here, only one frag grenade as well remaining for the Sledge. No verticality up to 4 yet. It was the issue last time. They left it too late, left a man upstairs. Nerd, a lot of pressure on him to win this fight, and he loses it, leaving Vision upstairs all by himself. A weird adjustment. They had one player on each floor there. Synq going for that execute. I'm not sure exactly why. Thankfully, Vision will catch off Waller as he's trying to fall back to the site, but it's surely round taken for Dispatched here.
Yeah, Visen's clutched up a lot of games in his time here in TXB Pro, but this one I just don't see him winning the 1 versus 4 in 45 seconds. He needs to ace it to win it. He's getting pinched from both sides now. We've got Malusi just dashing her way through, giving herself away. And now we have the player over in the double door. That's going to be Henry 2G. Baiting that Visen out, and Henry's going to win that gunfight.
Throw it away.
Yeah.
It's bad. Don't do that again. Stop it. They're being very, very naughty. Whenever they're in that strong advantage position, peeking around the corner towards the last man. They've not quite learned their lesson of playing it safe, but either way, they do take it, thankfully. They did enough work in the early round. Just the beginning, getting to that 3-5 advantage, it was pretty much all done. They took out the right operators as well, which is a bit of luck, but they'll certainly take it. Match point. Map 1 in their hands. Best of 3. They win if they can take this bar and cocktail defense.
It's looking dicey for Synq at the moment. They've turned up.
What do they win, Boot, as well?
Oh, so good point. So the winning team will win £200, 5 lots of 600 Rainbow Six credits, and they also win a set of 5 controller shells and grips from extremerate.com of their choice, custom faceplates and grips, and they'll win 5 of those. So a fairly decent prize pool for first place. Second place still walks away with something. Second place will win 5 times 1200 R6 credits, and we have an MVP prize this season, a league MVP prize, where hexgaming.com have given us, or will give us, a custom pro controller of the league MVP's choice. So he'll get to go to their website, pick what he wants with back buttons and custom faceplates and all sorts, and that will be theirs for being the league MVP. So a lot of good prizes this season. Sorry?
Who chooses that?
It's chosen based on ratings. So we have player ratings throughout the season because we track the stats. We'll have player ratings, and the player with the highest rating and most games played will win that MVP title.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to seeing who that's going to be. And at the moment, it's likely to be someone on Dispatched. When I last looked, Waller was in good contention, and with the performance he's put in today, it could well be him, but we need to wait until the stats are in from the league stat men, and we'll get that counted after the game, and next week we'll be able to announce who wins that. But this is potentially the last round that we're going to see. So let's see what Dispatched are going to do. So far, we've seen Synq having real trouble cracking this nut of bar and cocktail, especially with Waller playing on Vigil in the same place he's played every other time. Let's see if Synq have learned enough to be able to win it this time.
I mean, surely they'll be ready for it this time around after him finding 6 players from this position in the last 2 rounds attempting it. You imagine they will be ready. I think they've got a slightly different plan, though, a bit more focused on the east, which is always a dangerous area. If the defense aren't ready for it, they can always be caught off by a quick east move. And you wouldn't put it past Synq, especially after that rush on the previous basement attack. Lots of players coming in on the second floor, though. That's very smart, as Dispatched do like, whether it's attack or defense, deploying players on this floor. Foz, in particular, in this spot, has noticed the door is open. He's noticed the drone as well. Will he be able to deal with the players behind? Sledge throws a nade. Not doing anything yet. Here comes up. No, so that was the first, as they push on forwards and do take down the castle. So a good advantage, nice and early. Still players above. The Jaeger could pounce downwards. The Wamai is down elsewhere. Things definitely not going very well for Dispatch. The Vigil tries to join in and is also taken down. A huge disadvantage here for Dispatch.
Yeah, only 2 players left against a full 5-man squad of Synq. I don't want to curse anything, but if we don't go to overtime at the end of this round, I would be very, very surprised. Stun grenades going out all over the place with 45 seconds left on the clock. Henry's going to avoid all of them as Proza takes a load of damage from White Stairs, but we do have 2 players funneling up here. 3, in fact. We've got 1 on pallets, so the chances of Proza winning are very slim, but Henry's going to claim a quick 3k and take it to a 1 versus 2. Henry just has dropped Diffuser at top of White. We've got 1 player on window, one on Skylight, and both of these players are in a really difficult position. Henry could have just won this all on his own, playing this position, but no, the 2 players of Synq are going to stun him and move in at the exact same time with a perfect pinch and get that kill onto Henry as he doesn't know which way to look first. Fair play to Henry, had a good crack at it, but Synq just managed to hold it together and win that round, and we do get overtime.
I was about to say he could better his 1v4 from Oregon with a match and series winning 1v5 at the end. What an incredible ending that would have been. Unfortunate, even with 20 seconds remaining, that stun just catching him off. I think without the stun change, he can look away. He could probably take those fights one at a time and maybe win that out. So very unfortunate from Henry. A very strong effort so far in this final, but it's not quite enough yet because you lose 2 rounds. And we've got an entirely other map as well in Theme Park waiting for us. So there's a lot to tell just within this 3, maybe even 2 rounds coming up next. And we've got a first floor defense offered. As we return to the defensive side, for Dispatch, sorry, they continue their defensive.
Yeah, they picked Dispatch to... they picked defense to start on. So as we look at some stats for this map, through this season, it's 51% defender favored and 49% attacker. So it's very close either way. However, the fact that Dispatched picked to start on attack suggests to me that they feel a little bit more confident. To start on defense. That they feel a little bit more confident on defense, which means technically they're going into this with 2 rounds in their advantage.
They look it.
Yeah. So, I mean, based on how we've seen things go, I don't know what to call.
On this side, Synq have looked pretty poor. That rush obviously throws a bit of a spanner in the works for that particular statistic. But in the other rounds, Dispatched have found early kills and then locked off areas. And even on previous rounds, they've done quite a lot of work on the top-down clear that was attempted from Synq. That was picked apart nice and easily. Their move through from Freezer was unsuccessful despite finding some kills. They never seem to quite have the right strategy when trying to deal with Dispatched. And again, there are lots of sneaky, roamy players lingering around corners waiting for the right moment to pounce. And Synq, again, could be caught off here with a lot of focus here towards taking the VIP and dining area. But they're losing men. Waller, of course, steps up and finds the first entry. On to Zach again.
As he does. Waller just being very consistent here, and at 17-9 right now, they really do need to shut him down if Synq want to stand a chance of winning. It looks like we are getting a Freezer take as Kix is prepped on Freezer wall. Vyzen is going to take Waller out of play. See it again, same 2 first kills or first deaths, depending on which way you look at it, from these 2 teams, as the player on White is going to engage Synq in a gunfight. I'm not entirely sure who that was. It wasn't Henry, it wasn't Proza, it must have been Fozzer. So yep, he is upstairs, has taken a fair bit of damage, more than Synq did. So Fozzer is going to lick his wounds as he retreats a little bit and try a different angle. He's done some work that he needs to do, and now just fall back and wait for that moment to strike like a coiled snake as Proza holds up, waiting for someone to run through that double door. But the Freezer is the take of choice here coming out from Synq. We've got the pressure being applied from above with Sledge, but we saw this go very wrong for Synq the last time they tried this. You called it yourself. Sledge was left upstairs with no diffuser and no way of getting back in time to support his team. So the question is, will it work this time as Kix does make his way in with diffuser, and he waits patiently for his team to join him as he gets the intel on the site so he knows when to make that push and give that call to his teammates.
Well, Dispatched saw this out via positioning alone last time, their utility as well. The Kaid was in close position where Proza is now with a C4 to deny the plant. They are in that position to do it again. Thankfully, Jakoa is down. That's one C4 lost and a strong gunner on top of it. Proza as well goes down. That's a lot of utility lost for the defense and men on top of it. Now it's just left to Henry, always in a horrible position. Another 1 versus 4. He's done it earlier. He got 3 in the previous round. He's found the first, and he goes for the second as well. Doesn't manage to take them down quite yet. Low health and no health now. Blue team take the round. Synq with a very strong advantage. They're on match point here.
Not yet, no, but winning an attack like that is a good positive for them, because Synq have lost that map twice on attack. So to manage to win it at this point, at such a critical stage, is a good indicator for them that maybe they're on track to even the map count here and take us to map number 3, which would be very exciting to see Theme Park. I don't know, Synq are looking good. Based on how they performed on defense so far, we saw them win 3 in a row when they were defending in the first half. So if they can keep that momentum, having just won the last 2 rounds on attack on a site or a couple of sites that they'd really struggled with, then maybe they've got the momentum that they need to be able to take this one here and just make sure that we don't see a 3rd overtime round and take us to map 3. I don't know. I mean, this is really tough to call. This is really tough to call.
The flawless earlier on this site from Dispatched is sticking in my mind right now. Even though they were very, very directly focused on Bakery, they've done that twice. Will Synq try and resist it? I mean, judging by Nerd's reinforcement there, or whoever that is inside of Bakery, you'd imagine they're trying to hold it a bit more directly this time around, not opting for the Wamai, who is available and be very useful in that particular position. They're still opting for this Vigil that hasn't seen any specific use on this site yet for their team. That's a bit of a question mark for me. There are certainly operators who could do the job that they probably need done a little bit better. But maybe we're going to see a different switch up as well from the attackers. They're bringing the Nomad. They brought the Maverick as well, which they did do the previous round, but this might indicate a bit more verticality from Dispatch, unless the Nomad's going to do the same thing as she did last time and jab off Small Bakery.
Well, we're getting Zachariah. Looked like he was ready for a jump out there. We saw him prep the window and sitting on his cams waiting for the jump, but it isn't going to come because it just isn't going to work out for him clearly. But he is still going to get a kill. And was that from the doorway? It looked like that was from the garage doorway down here, as he does manage to claim the life of 1. And that is Henry 2G. So Henry's been a good gun for Dispatch so far, but of course we've still got Waller, Proza, Jakoa. They've all done great work with their guns, and now as they start to open up the default walls, Waller is going to start pushing his way in and apply pressure through prep, but he's going to fall, and this is looking good for Synq, as they're 5-3 up right now with 2 minutes left to go, and they've already done some great work. This is looking tasty for Synq, but can the boys of Dispatch turn this around? Holes getting opened up in the main wall. We've got Fozza still with 2 grenades left and a player right by that breach. So grenade could... Oh, well, Fozza doesn't need the grenades. He's going to use his gun instead, as he's got eyes there on a second player behind the counter. This is looking like a good attempt at a retake and even things out from Dispatched, but Synq still find themselves in a strong position with Zachariah upstairs, being able to apply a vertical hold, as we do see Sledge crouch walking his way in very, very slowly. And there we go. That's a big kill for Synq.
A bit of a silly decision to just kind of crouch around that corner. Of course, prioritizing a bit of stealth, but it certainly doesn't work. Zach takes the kill nice and comfortably. Bit of a stop-start game for Zach in particular, but showing up when his team need it. Moving in through the breach now. The Maverick doesn't really have very much support. Just wandering in all by his lonesome. The Ace too far behind to help out. Now 1 versus 3 for Proza, or we are headed to the final map, Theme Park. They've struggled a bit here on Cafe Dispatched. It's not the game that they've been wanting to have. Ace is jumping in. He's got a good chance after taking down that man. 2 defenders remain. A C4 in the hands of Kicks will be a definite worry for the Ace. It's the spear that deals the damage. And Synq take us to map 3.
A spear that deals the damage, eh? I like that. That's quite the phrase. So, yeah, it wasn't looking good for Synq for a little while, but they managed to take it to overtime, turn it around, and put an equalizer up there. So we do get one map each, which means we are going to go to Theme Park, a map that, to be honest, I wasn't sure we were going to see. Now, Ebak, at the start, you called that whoever won map number 1 was likely to take the whole game. Dispatched won map number 1. I've asked you what you're expecting to see, but I think we've established that on Theme Park, neither of us really know what we're expecting, whether it's going to be in bans or gameplay in general. So I don't know. What would you like to see?
I mean, there's a lot I'd like to see. I'd like to see a continuation of dispatched confidence style. Synq have never consistently clicked throughout a map so far in this final. They've just been a bit too up and down, a bit too dependent upon looking for gaps and openings within dispatched setup and exploiting it, which is what great teams do, and it's a really good sign. But you've also got to have that consistency of yourself within that they are currently lacking, but thankfully they have brought it this far, and they're only one map away from a full victory, so a lot can still happen. Maverick was their first ban, and the counter from their opposition of Dispatched, Nomad.
We have seen a lot of Nomad play in today's game, so to see her get banned is kind of... It makes sense. She's a strong operator, maybe not so much on Oregon as you were talking about, but certainly on Cafe to stop the jump outs that we saw Vigil get away with that you shouldn't really have got away with, but still... That's where you want Nomad. On Theme Park, there are quite a few opportunities for flanks and jump outs, I think, where it makes sense to get rid of her. So I'm not disappointed with that pick. It's no surprise. Valkyrie getting taken out as well. I mean, that's just standard at the moment. Valkyrie and Mira, the same 2 defensive bans that we had in the last map. So... yeah, pretty much everything is normal here, just with a surprise Nomad pick. Now, it's been so long, I've forgotten what the primary site is. I would expect it to be Armory and Throne. Yes, it is going to be Armory and Throne.
It depends. It depends. I think on console, yes. A lot of the time, there'd be a big argument on PC.
Right.
But yes, I'd say Armory and Throne probably for these teams, given that the way they play. It's a great place to bunker down. Like slow your opposition and hold angles, which is what these guys love to do.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting to see the majority of the play going down on this site. But I am surprised by the bans to some degree. They're standard for, the operators that have been played a lot during this particular matchup and operators that are commonly banned on different maps. But on this map in particular, it's not necessarily the most common with some of these. The Nomad makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways, but with the Maverick ban and the Kaid still in play, for one, is a bit of a question mark, because to dislodge this site, you need to open things. And the Thatcher is in play, thankfully. It's just that, it's that open field of operators that you don't usually have available. We played Oregon earlier, and no such thing. They're all banned out. This time it's an open season for everybody to do whatever they want in terms of operators, essentially.
It would have been interesting even to see the teams come in with just no bans for this one and just go, hey, let's just have everyone available. Why not? I mean, this site is most popular when Thatcher's banned, so with him not being banned, it makes this a little bit less desirable than it would be normally, because these walls are going to get very easily opened up. Very easily indeed, especially as just a single signal jammer on one of them, and over on Yellow Stairs we have 2 bandit batteries, and all of these will just go down very, very easily. So I don't expect Dispatch to have any problem getting into sight. The question is, will they even make it that far, as we've got a couple of roamers that are going to be trying to stop them from getting there in the first place. We do have Zach getting ready for some kind of run out, it seems. He is going to open up, but there's no one there. So has Dispatched realize what's happened? They're all just sitting up here on this hatch. We are going to get Ace running over to see if there's... No, he doesn't realize that door's actually open the way he jumped down there. Zachariah could get an easy pick, but he is just going to back out, which is unfortunate, as we have 2 crouch walkers here on the top floor from attack trying to make their way towards the site and do some vertical destruction, which is what's going to be done here by the attackers, I suspect. You want to get control of the office here above A site. All of this floor is destructible. You want to open up the holes and push those defenders out, then open up the yellow wall, get in and plant somewhere around here, probably on this little box around this sort of area.
You can. Dispatch don't have the lineup that really suggests that they want to do that. They haven't brought
That's ledge or anything, yeah.
along. And also, I don't believe in vertical executes on this site. I just don't, personally. But either way, Logic will start things off by taking down the Jackal, which is a great beginning, given the amount of roamers that Synq are dedicating on a very sit-heavy site. That is the perfect pick for them at the beginning of this round. A little bit fortunate for them that he is the one to fall. It will try to be recovered by the Ashe, engaging nice and early across towards this Mozzie, but probably doesn't know there's a Vigil waiting around in office as well. The supporting play comes out across from Bathroom as well, splitting the attention of this Vigil. It's just whoever's going to take this first kill. It will probably be a 2-0 for the team that goes for it. The attack find the first. Now the pressure's on the Mozzie.
Yeah, so Mozzie is going to take that pressure and he's going to roll it up into a ball, throw it away as he retreats around to the other side of the map. Yellow pings go out thanks to that cam. Pre-fires onto the player that takes out that cam, and Logic perfectly predicting that someone's coming behind him, and he does manage to get the kill, but he loses his life as well. So a nice little trade there for Waller and Logic. So the two roamers doing their job. The job isn't so much to get kills, it's to waste time just as much. And if we look at the clock, 20 seconds left. And those two roamers did manage to do that, but another Synq player is going to fall, leaving Proza, Jacoa, and Fozza with 15 seconds to get into sight and get this plant down. Fozza has the diffuser. He's playing on Thatcher, and as he starts to move in, we've got a player laid down here on Synq, and that shotgun is going to be the end of the round as Nursing picks up 2 quick frags and puts round number 1 in the win column for Synq. The strongest, in fact, this is the first map where we've seen them take round number 1.
They looked a lot more confident there. Great time wasting on that roam in particular. Between Zach and Logic, just wasting all the time of anyone upstairs and taking quite a few with them as well. And within the site, of course, I can hear the frustration. I can hear the angry shouts from Dispatched as the Thatcher and Ace were not in communication at that point. Obviously, the Ace waiting for Thatcher, I think, to EMP the wall, and he's paying no attention, pushing towards Blue. Whatever it was just a bit of a nightmare. And even with the man advantage, shotgun on that site, on Xbox, you're never going to be able to get through there, especially with a player like Nerd, with his pedigree, his history within this competition as well. He holds it firm, and they take the first round very comfortably. So they're going to move upstairs to a bit more of a standard site over in Bunker Daycare.
Yeah, so that was a cracker of a first round for Synq there, looking very good, particularly with the roam game like we talked about. I'm looking forward to seeing if they can do just as much here. Armory and Throne isn't a site where typically you need a big roam game as well. You can just bunker down here and hold on to it for dear life, maybe with a slight off-site play over here in this area, but you don't have to do a full roam. So for the full roam to get away with what they did, certainly impressive, and let's see if Synq can carry that over into round number 2 of this map, as we get into the action phase with 8 drones left in the pockets of Dispatched. So fairly good drone economy coming out from them. We just need to see them using those drones to good effect and clearing out the bottom floor before they make their way towards site. But it looks like we aren't actually going to get much resistance on the first floor coming out from Synq. It looks like they are applying all of their bodies up here on the top with a fairly standard rotate here onto Far Cry or Arcade, depending on how you call it. Standard reinforcements with a rotate here into Initiation, if I remember rightly this is called, and then Control Room. We've got the standard hatch drop.
We do a full map, go through and just remember what all the rooms are called.
We could do that during prep phase of each one, just so that we recall it.
I'm not sure I ever knew in the first place, to be fair. Either way, beginning the round, not much happening for Dispatch, just figuring out what they're dealing with. Nice early drone play. They'll soon figure it out. It's a lot of intel denial, in particular from Synq, which is a great way to counter Dispatch directly, other than just gunning for their heads, and they've done that too. They've taken down Henry.
Yeah, Henry first man to fall, so quite the contrast from the last map where we saw it was Zach and Waller were like the last two in the last one, weren't they? So a bit of a switch up here as Synq take 2 lives, and Synq are looking pretty good on Theme Park at the moment. It's worth pointing out for the stream that this was Dispatched map pick. This wasn't picked by Synq, but Synq are looking good on it so far, even though Pozza takes down Kicks. That is Bandit. It's not a huge loss. He'll put his back 2's down. It is a C4 off the board to deny a plant, but we still have 2 C4s in the pockets of Synq and Logic, so it's not an absolute end of the world right now, but it is an end of the world, or at least the round for Waller, as Synq with the SMG-11 is going to pop his head right off his shoulders, leaving Proza and Fozza all on their own here in a 1 versus 4 as Fozza falls as well. Proza last man left standing, and this is looking like a very dominant round for Synq. There's destruction going off all over the place, and Proza just trying to find some bodies or some heads through any little hole he can, but it's going to be Zach that gets that kill instead. And Synq take round number 2.
Very comfortable. They look absolutely on top. Dispatch not offering up very much. Of course, they're putting, again, a lot, as we spoke about with Synq on map 1 over in Oregon, they're sinking a lot of resources into bringing that Jackal along in these rounds. And so far, he's entered and died twice immediately with no refrag, like directly at the very least. So been a rough start for Henry after a very strong cafe. He was very consistently strong, but again he keeps being left by himself. Whether that's the final man in 1 versus X's, he's just a step behind the rest of the team, or whether he's moving in first and he's not quite got the support behind. I don't know if that's his issue in syncing up with the team, or whether it's the rest of the team altogether as a unit and what their plan is, or whether they're relying on him too much for individual moments. Whatever it is, Henry just seems to be a little bit too temperamental at the moment. And they've got to sort that out quickly, because otherwise they'll find themselves one too many rounds behind to be comfortable.
Yeah, so I know Henry and Proza pretty well, because they both used to play in JPC, which is a team that I used to manage. And
do you? What's their favorite color then?
Okay, I don't know them that well. I don't know them that well. But they are the Welsh duo. They're both Welsh, which, there's nothing against them for that. But what I can tell you about Henry is that he's the kind of player that's fairly easy to tilt. He has a high expectation level of himself. When he comes into a round and he's not getting the picks, you'll see Henry start to retreat into himself. So if we don't see Henry start to pick up the fragging in a moment, then that could go very badly for Dispatched if he gets left in 1 versus X's, as he has been quite regularly throughout Cafe.
So his favorite color might not be red, but he certainly sees red often.
Yes. For sure, yeah. But we'll see what he manages to do. Zachariah with the early kill onto Jakoa. That's important there. That's gridlock that's going to hold back any flanks that might come out, so you don't want to lose that gridlock first. We still have hard breach and soft destruction, so there's still plenty of utility for Dispatched here to attack this site, which is initiation and office. What happened there?
I don't know if the defenders did that intentionally. Either way, it's open.
A cheeky little hole.
Yeah. And so is the kill feed for them. They take down Zachariah eventually in response for his kill onto the gridlock, which is an interesting op to bring along. You don't see her very often, and we won't see her for the rest of
this round at least. Yeah.
And another kill comes out as the attacker really struggling to find a way into the map here.
Yeah, we're going to have Proza and Henry crouch walking their way into the cash stash, but there was one in bathroom that's Nursing who's going to claim Henry's life. Proza needs to turn around and get on that, whipping the pistol out, but logic from the other side of him with the Roni is going to come off better, and that's 3 rounds in a row for Synq. We haven't seen them start this strong in any of these maps so far. I mean, to be fair, they got 3 in a row from round number 2 on Cafe, but to open up the map at this point, this could be very good for them. This could be very good for them, as we are going to pause because we do lose a player. I can't remember who it was. Jakoa, Proza, Henry. Oh, it's Fozza. That's who's gone. That's who's gone. So we will pause. This is going to be the one pause / rehost for Dispatched, and hopefully Fozza's going to be able to make his way back in. I'm assuming it's not a rage quit, and that it is actually a genuine game crash or sound bug or whatever it might happen to be. So we will wait patiently for him to make his grand return. But yeah, not looking too hot for Dispatched right now.
No, there are certainly repeating issues here. That just the same thing happening over and over. They've been sticking with this very varied lineup in terms of operators as well, but I don't see too much usage of them in particular. I think an operator like Iana would be very useful for them. To be fair, maybe the gridlock as well, but she needs to get in first. So
Yeah.
maybe that's just a bit more intel play. Obviously, Synq opting for a lot of intel denial, as they have done consistently. Both these teams, half of their players consistently, whether it's sub or main teams, favorite operators on defense are either Mozzie or Mute. Again, that's for both of these teams.
Yeah.
They really, really enjoy intel denial. And when they double up on it like that, which they are still doing now, as we head back down to Armory and Throne, it's going to be a huge issue for Dispatched. Although they did put together a bit of a better performance than the previous ones on their bottom floor attack.
Well, we're going to have Foz doing a 6-pick onto Ying, which is interesting. I don't think I've seen Fozza play Ying before, so I'm kind of expecting, based on the lineup that we're seeing from Dispatched, I'm expecting them to pull out some of their trademark aggression that we know of here. So what I'm envisaging, if I can get the word out, is that they are just going to storm one of these 3 walls, open it up, Candela the site to death, and then just try to walk in and plant amongst a mist of smoke and flash grenades or stun grenades. We'll see how it plays out, but that's kind of what I'm expecting with this lineup, and let's see what Synq will be able to pull out. It could be down to Zachariah and Logic playing on the Mozzie and the Vigil with the big roam game up here on the 2nd floor, like they did in round number 1, just really slowing down the attack, which they did perfectly in round number 1. They slowed them down to like 30 seconds left, and Dispatch will need to get past that or bypass it completely and attack the site head on, which might be what they're doing.
I was just curious because Dispatched went for a top-down move last time to clear out roamers, but not to play vertically with their lineup. They just wanted to deal with them. This time around, this entire lineup and the way that they're setting up right now indicates they're going to blast in. They're going to try and get the, I can't even remember, bumper cars?
Bumper cars, yes. Maintenance.
Wall open.
Maintenance bumpers.
Maintenance, of course. Yeah, wall open. See, that's the first example. Struggling. But yeah, they'll want to get that wall open, but they've got to be quick, which Dispatched have struggled to do consistently. Whenever I've seen them, they've always been far too slow. They like to bimble, which is always an issue because Zachariah and Logic, the only way you're sneaking past them with this move is to catch them off. And they're being caught off themselves, and it's not by either of them, it's kicks as well.
Yeah, if they were going for a rush strat, they've taken too long. The time has passed now. They're just not going to come off better if they try it. It feels like at the moment they're now just trying to throw a load of stuff at the wall and see what sticks as they kind of decide, hey, let's just push in. We've taken too long. Let's just go for it. They lose 3 players in the meantime, and Henry 2G and Henry 2G is the last man standing in a 1 versus 5 with no diffuser in hand. He's got Iana, no frag grenades. I do not like his chances here. He's not even going to get 1, and it is going to be a flawless from Synq. F in the chat for Dispatched on that one. Their strategy did not pay off as Synq go 4-0 up in map number 3.
For the plan that they were going for, like too much time had passed, and then they tried to do it, and then after that, I guess too many players had passed away, being taken out one by one, and they're 4-0 down now. This is a horrible situation to find yourself in. I said to you too in the break, I'm getting flashbacks to the ECS Jaegers versus Lions Creed final, which ended on a theme park in a best of 5. Jaegers took like I think a 5-1 advantage and then ended up losing on the final map. So that's what's crossing my mind, maybe for Dispatched as their only hope. But by most measurable margins that I can imagine, Synq are providing very little room for Dispatch to work within. So they're going to have to change their lineup. They're opting for the Buck this time, who can do absolutely everything nowadays, and very, very useful, alongside all the soft breach and hard breach in the world, and of course Thatcher on top of it. So they'll be ready to deal with whatever they want now that they're returning to the top floor. They just need to enter the map more securely. There's a lot of droning you need to do. Like, theme park is hard to enter in COD. It's definitely true. But there are certain simple things that a team needs to be able to do, regardless of it. And entering the map safely is...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because it was dispatched map pick, Synq got to pick the side, so they went with defense. When it comes to overtime, if we get to overtime, then dispatch will play on defense first. So clearly they're more comfortable on defense. So maybe, you know, this is just one of those things. They're prepared to lose a few rounds on attack, hopefully get a 4-2 split, and then feel that they'll bring it back on defense. But considering this is dispatched map pick, I'm surprised with the level of ability, well, the level of what they're doing here. They're not performing to what I would expect from a team that actually picked this map. I don't know if it was they thought, yeah, we've run it a couple of times, Synq won't have played it. Why would they have played it? It's out of most people's map pools. Not realizing that Synq are coming here and actually are fully ready for this by surprise. So I don't know what the thought or rationale was, but it's not paying off just yet for Dispatch. Hopefully they can win a couple of rounds, and then when we get to, you know, the second half, turn it around and we see the close games that we've seen for maps 1 and 2.
You do expect that to some degree, as theme park. There are very few maps that I will argue are actually defender or attacker favored, but theme park very much defensively favored.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons a lot of people didn't like it.
Yeah.
You know, for various reasons. But it does mean comebacks can certainly happen. Dispatch will be hoping for that. They can still take 2 rounds here and actually come away with a very respectable split. And they will start things off brilliantly within this individual round by finding the opening pick onto a very, very irritating Logic so far for them.
Yeah, Logic's doing well. We are going to see Pozza drop, though, with Nursing and the shotgun. Nursing doing great work with that shotgun in this game. Yeah, through the drone hole. That is not the way that anybody wants to go down, is through a drone hole. But you've got to watch out for it. You've got to watch out for it. In this map, there are quite a few drone holes that you need to look out for. And yeah, clearly they weren't looking out. Kick sends up that C4, but doesn't set it off just yet. So clearly placing that, realizing that this is the side the attack is coming from, knows that someone's likely to push that double doorway, and prepping that C4 just in case he needs it. We've got a handy little rotate here into the site from initiation. And that wall is going to get opened up fully by Ace, but we have 2 players on site ready to deny that. Henry G is going to get 1 pick, putting Dispatched in the lead for, you know, possibly the first time in this game, if I remember rightly. Let's see if they can capitalize on that and take the round.
It's a decent position for Dispatched, and they help themselves out a bit with a double kill from Henry. Still knows there's a player near the top of yellow stairs. He's got to shut them down quickly. He goes for the nade, flushes them into the corridor. They're going to be in an awkward cross position between angles from the attack as they mount their site execute. And I guess it's just very dominant within the round from start to finish. They found the first kill, and they never really let up from there. That was much more the Dispatch we'd seen, especially on Oregon in particular, and very promising signs. If they can take the 4-2, you can kind of almost forget the first half happened.
Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, a nice answer back from Dispatch there, showing a bit more of that aggression that we've become used to. If they can keep up on that aggression train, then they would be able to turn things around.
They entered, is what they did. They got in the map safely. So that they actually could play the game. And funnily enough, Dispatched are pretty good at playing Siege.
Yeah. They're no slouches at it, that's for sure, as we go to initiation and office. So we've got a consistent site rotation coming out from Synq here. Even though they lost Bunk and Daycare and could go back there, they're not going to. They are going to go to initiation and office, their tertiary site from the first quarter of the game. So they did win it. And if I remember rightly, it was quite a convincing win. So potentially this could be a 5-1 split at the end of this half if Dispatched can't keep up with the momentum that they've just built up in that last round. But Dispatched have a good lineup coming out. We've got pretty much the same operators that we had last time. We have Henry on the sled. We've got Thatcher. So we've got full wall opening ability as well with Waller and those EMPs. We've got the below slight ability coming out from Fozza. So Dispatched have the right lineup. They just need to make sure they use the operators in the right way. Let's take a look at the setup as we get Saria gates going on to control center wall, or control room doorway rather. Signal jammer on the default reinforcement, but soft next to it. Unusual. Standard rotate here in break. And as always, double reinforcements and a single reinforcement over here in the office themselves. Now, a lot of teams will attack from the castle entrance for this site and also for Bunken Daycare. And Dispatched are proving no different, as all 5 of them are coming over from that side, as we just see a lone gunman making his way over to the other hatch, which is going to be Henry going to Cafe.
I don't even know what the castle entrance is. What is that?
Oh, castle entrance is it's this bit here. This is castle entrance.
Ah, right. Okay, I see. I just call it Cash Balcony.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
It's right outside Cash. But either way, Zach could find himself in trouble. Bullets almost connecting onto him, just breezing past his shins as he's sitting there by the Cash desk. His position known, but he does find the first kill. Takes a lot of damage as well. A nicely timed nade, lowering his health. He'll retract, and also, again, as we saw on Cafe in previous rounds, Zach managed to get back to recover his health with those Kona stations thanks to kicks.
Yeah. That was a nice play from Zach. He almost lost his... Was it Zach or Logic? No, it was Zach. He almost lost his life there, but like he did, or Logic did in a previous round on Cafe, you get that first pick and then just dash back, get the Kona stations, and it's all good, and it's like it never happened. So a good play there from Zach, and he had the benefit as well of sitting on a soft hatch. If he wanted to escape quickly, he could have just punched the hatch and drops. So that was a good position for him to play. He got away with it, and we do see another body on Dispatch full, making it 4 versus 3. Fozza's going to answer back and even things out, though, as Henry G starts to make his way into Cash with a grenade, taking down that Saria gate. He has no grenades left, so he's not going to be able to bomb his way into site, but we can see that the attackers are actually in control of the site. They just need to have the diffuser in there and have the right positioning to be able to get the plant down. Fozza's going to get healed up by the Kona station, and this could be a big oof for Synq if another one of these Kona stations is found. But it isn't. Fozza's going to start that plant, and it is going to be successful.
Oh no, the Jaeger, he went for the drone hole shot but couldn't quite see the feet. He's got to support Kicks here from the rotate, but Kicks is down. Now all the attention can be set towards its Jaeger. He does fall as well. A triple coming out from the Buck. Incredible play. Only one. He needs a triple himself here, the Mute. He can only muster the one, and he falls very quickly inside of control, losing it and the round.
That was a good one from Dispatched. I like that.
Mm-hmm. And they've got the 4-2 split.
What they wanted.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty ideal on a theme park attack. You can be pretty comfortable with that. And after going 4-0 down, it seemed all but lost, and now they're in a great position. If they start off with a strong round or two, they're right back in it, and even more so probably in the driver's seat yet again to come and win this one. So this game never. I mean, it's I can't ever call it. Whether it's in Oregon Cafe, even here on Theme Park, you go 4 rounds up, which is the biggest advantage either team has had within this match, and it still doesn't seem like it's that far ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as we go into the second half, we do see the two sides switch and Dispatch go onto their side of choice, which is defense. So I'm expecting to see big things from these boys coming out as we go into defense. Just like Synq, they're going to go to Armory and Throne as their primary site. Even though Thatcher is in play, they're still going to go for that, which is absolutely fine. We have an interesting lineup coming out from the attack side. We don't have Sledge or any kind of real vertical destruction. So?
It's the same exact lineup that Dispatch brought on their first attack of this site.
Is it? How do you remember this stuff?
The only change... yeah, because I remember why it didn't work.
Oh, right.
That's why it's stuck in my brain. But it's very focused on shutting down some of these roamers, which is why Dispatched, having 4 of the same 5 operators that Synq brought on this, might work as well. They've just swapped away the Bandit as well for Thunderbird. Which is quite an interesting one. And it's quite useful because they're not focusing on wall denial. They're not focusing on keeping anything closed. They're going to try and shut down players nice and early, play quite aggressive, find any early picks they can, and then sit deep within the site, even with angles open. So it's a risky game from Dispatch, but I like their kind of front foot mentality.
Well, we can see drones going all over the place from Synq, just setting up those flank drones, finding the right positions, trying to pick off these roamers that will be roaming around. We've got Foz playing on mute, which he does very regularly, and he is very good at it. He's going to be sitting back on site rather than roaming around now. He does do a good mute roam, but he's not going to be pulling out this time. It looks like he has some intel. He's prepping a C4 here. Mozzie's upstairs droning. But there are no attackers up here. In fact, we've got quite a heavy presence up here on the top floor. I hadn't realized we've got 3 defenders up here. And this is what Synq are now trying to work their way through to. They found one, red ping's going out, but I don't think they know about the player in the showers. So sure enough, oh, they do know he's there now though, as a quick peek comes out, but it doesn't pay off. Jakoa is going to take a load of health off of his health points as he gets into that gunfight. I don't know where I'm going with that, but no, Synq is going to fall at the hands of Henry 2G as Jakoa gets traded out. So very quickly we see a 4 versus 4, still with 1 minute 20 seconds left. One of those roamers on the top floor now has been taken out of play. We've got one left as the remaining roamer has dropped back to support his teammates on site. Waller's going to pick off Logic, leaving us in the 4 versus 3 now as grenades go off all over the place but do 0 damage. And with 1 minute left, Dispatched have fortified their positions now back here on site, just healing themselves up with Konas, getting ready for the push. We've got one player waiting to stop the flank, and let's see what Synq will do here.
They're certainly very comfortable because the Thatcher's down and the Ace is going to have so much more trouble getting anything open. He'll have to do it late regardless, and the Mute can reposition maybe some of his jammers that maybe might have been more drone focused in the early round to this position. Obviously, you see one upstairs there. He's not going to be able to retract that, but either way, it's going to be tricky for Synq as they push on in towards the site. Kicks, especially on low health. They did pick up that 1 kill just now. 25 seconds remaining. Where is the Vigil going? Not quite sure why he's running through Gong at that point in the round. 2 versus 3. Things a lot better for Synq, but still tricky. Anchor positions held here. Henry, a lot of reliance on him with this cross angle between him and Fozzer. The low angles will help, but the smoke covers the entry. In they come, Synq. They take down one, and it's just left to the Mute on the other side of the site. He has no C4 to throw through the smoke. He's just got to send his body through, and it's a giant target for the opposition. Down he falls. Round taken by Synq in very extraordinary circumstances.
That was a lovely tentative stroll from Fozzer, just going through the smoke like, oh, there's a load of smoke here. What do I do? Oh, I'll just walk into it and see what happens. And it wasn't good, as we would have expected. The 4 players that were in sight, watching, knowing exactly where Foz was likely to be, just picked him up and managed to get that round. So we do Synq go 5-2 up. And this is the strongest lead, I think, that we've seen either of these teams have on any of these maps. The question is, will Synq throw it away, or are they going to capitalize on this as we get to the second round of the second half? They've looked just as strong on attack as they did on defense. It took them some time, but they got there. But this is looking good for Synq right now, I feel.
Yeah. I mean, they had the 4-round advantage, which is now a 3. But they're still quite comfortably ahead in a way that we've not seen in a map other than FIFA.
Yeah.
So it's definitely strong signs, and starting out with an attacking win is fantastic. Again, I will very much argue it came down to Dispatch throwing it away, as I probably made it quite clear with the way that the utility was held, even the angles, despite whatever Waller was doing, dying as the Vigil before that execute took place. Even in the 3 versus 2, you fancy Dispatch. They have the angles. Synq were pushing through one doorway. It should have been simple enough, but again, Dispatched. Not quite sealing out rounds that they should, and if that continues from this point, it's been bad enough to bring them this far, but it's gonna cost them the championship at this rate if they do continue. They have no room for it. They lose 2 rounds, they are donezo. So let's see what Synq can offer up this time. They're bringing the same lineup, which is again rather roam clear and quite breach focused when it comes down to it, but they got to get there first. I'm not sure. He's prepping a C4. He's just placed it as well. Where did he place it? Did he place it under the cafe door? Is he waiting for an entry? I don't know if Mozzie has a pest in there or whether they have some intel. I think with the drones underneath, they may well have actually seen that C4 being placed. Either way, they've moved through and it's not gone off yet, so they're quite comfortable.
I think they're safe at this point.
Yeah, nobody's on a drone for the defense, so they're clearly not aware. I feel like that's a very wasted C4.
Yeah, we had 4 players upstairs at the start of the round. We have seen one now drop back to site, so Prosser isn't completely on his own. We are still sticking with that 3-man roan up here on the top floor. as we're going to have Jaeger playing in office, just laid down, just shooting drones. We've got another player in initiation, watching and giving a crossfire onto the double door. And this is actually where most of Synq are filtering in from. They are coming to that double door, but they're going to be walking into the crossfire of Jaeger and whoever this is. This is Waller. So these are two players that they do not want to walk into the crossfire of. They are going to mitigate the risks by opening up this wall with the Selmas of Ace to allow themselves that other opportunity. And they are actually clear there, apart from one player just tucked away in the corner, just waiting for someone to come around. That's going to be Vigil. He's going to use his utility to make sure that the attackers don't know he's there. But it looks like Logic already knows it, and he is going to claim that life of Waller, as he knows Mozzie's at the top of the Dragon Stairs. Henry's going to get the pick onto NerdSync because he drops through the hatch, and then he's just going to retreat his way back, knowing that he had someone with him. So Henry's going to get back to site, heal himself up, and live to fight another day. 4 versus 4, 45 seconds left on the round, and this is looking good for Dispatched.
It definitely is, because the same thing as last time, they've lost the Thatcher and the attack. They have managed to get the wall open actually on the north side, so a bit of a different setup here. The execute will be funneled through that area, but with so many players alive, even just the disadvantage of 3, they can still just stare at these single angles. It's going to come down to exactly how Synq place their men, how many different players come through different areas. And send 1 over to blue, 2 by the main of north. Are they ready for the mute to be in this position? No, he finds the first but can't get the second. Elsewhere, kills all around. 2 versus 2 of standing men, but only 3 seconds. The plant's got to go down now. Is the coverage there? The C4 doesn't work. The coverage is there momentarily. Henry has to move around. He knows that the Jackal is in that position over by blue. Not quite sure where the plant has taken place from the Ash of Logic, who has retracted into lockers. So we can try and pick the players off as they're isolated. But no, again, here comes the Jackal. Actually, they're in the opposite positions to what I thought they were. But either way, I'm just as bamboozled as the Mozzie, I suppose, in the end. And Synq, most importantly, move on to match point. Not only match point, but series point.
This is huge for them. This is huge.
Championship point.
Yeah, they've sort of looked rough all through. I mean, we both said that Dispatched have been the better team in the first 2 maps, but in this one, Synq have just they've looked good. They haven't really made that many mistakes.
No, none at all. To basically repeat what I said earlier, they've been very good at picking apart errors in Dispatched's play, whilst being consistent underneath. Dispatched are looking for mistakes and errors to kind of work their way in through, and Synq aren't giving it to them. And they're not focusing enough on their own style, particularly. They're almost playing it too safe towards the end of this theme park, which is uncharacteristic and is definitely not helping them. A 6-2 they're now looking at. They need 4 wins in a row here on the defense. Their opposition did it to start this game off, so it's certainly possible, but it will require not just incredible skill, it will take determination and a whole load of strong mentality.
Yeah, the mental challenge is going to be the harder part. The skill, I don't think, is in doubt, but it's the mental ability. When Synq did it, they didn't really have much pressure on them. It was the opening up. You were on defense. You were kind of expected to take it, but there wasn't a load of pressure on Synq in those first 4 rounds. This time, though, in the last map, as we get to a 6-2, the pressure is all on Dispatched. So they have a lot to play for here, and it's not impossible. It isn't impossible. It's just the mental attitude. And do these players have the mental attitude to be able to get past where they find themselves and be able to pull this map out and get to overtime? The only way they're going to win this is if they get to overtime. Synq have got 3 maps where they could afford to relax a little bit and just play their game, ride the wave of the adrenaline that they've built up to get to this point, whereas Dispatched have got to really fight tooth and nail to make anything happen here. But drones are going to go out. We have seen a good drone game from Synq on this map. We've many times seen 3 drones just swarming around the floors, just picking up those roamers and finding that information and then acting on it to take out that roam game. So they're going to continue that in this round, as we have 2 minutes left to find out if we have a 3-time champion or if Dispatched are still in with a chance.
Synq sticking with the same lineup yet again, every attack so far. And very focused on pushing players back, making them feel uncomfortable, and then when it comes to the execute, having all the right angles open, and making sure they can do what they will within. And they found the first pick as well to their advantage. Down goes Henry, an important clutch player throughout this game. He's had some brilliant moments, and shutting him down at this important pivotal moment in the game is a great advantage. And they extend it as well. Down goes Waller. So many strong gunning players down. Jakoa on very low health as well will have very little to say. If he takes a single bullet even to the toe. So it's going to be tricky from this point. 1 minute 10 left to hang on for dear life, Dispatched.
This is looking dicey right now. We've got a minute left as one more player falls. Jakoa, well, Fozz is the last man standing, and this is where we start seeing players leave the game, as you'd always expect. 1 versus 4. His team do not expect him to clutch up. It's going to be awkwardly embarrassing if he does, because they've got no rehost left. But sure enough, his team knows Fozz, and they know that he's not going to win it. And we do see Synq become the 3rd time TXB Pro champion. So well played to them for a great game, well fought. Like we said, map number 1, not their strong point, and they certainly showed that and brought it back in the last 2 maps of this game, managing to take the win. So GG to Synq. What a game.
Fantastic play. And importantly, Logic, we spoke about him in the first 2 maps, struggling to get into form, absolutely came alive on that final map. Much more characteristic.
Yeah.